202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. So save that number. Now, later tonight, we'll talk about the Kenyan women's rugby team that only fell one game short of playing in the qualifying tournament in Madrid. We'll also talk about the prospects of the Kenya men's rugby team winning a gold medal in the upcoming Paris Olympics. So start dropping your comments below and tell us who's your favorite player in the squad and what you think will happen in the Paris Olympics that are coming up soon. Na bila kusahau, hatutapokea mziki toka DJ wetu machachari because hayuko. He disappeared. I think he ate fare and he's still not come back yet. That's DJ Omosh Fire. Na tutadunda kule viwanjani na Mika Och jezi nambari 7 mgongoni akituletea habari za michezo. Na moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios ni mimi mtangazaji na mwana habari wako mpendwa Ali Badawi. Kwetu wananiita mteule na wengine mniite mjukuu yule wa Masai because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui, na sibagui. Karibuni tena.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now, of course, you know, like today, there will be no politics that we're going to be talking about because this hour we'll be talking to Kenya's #1 rugby fanatic. He'll be talking about Shujaa's epic journey from relegation back to the HSB 7's main series. Konye will also talk about his life outside rugby, where some call him doctor. So stay tuned for that. Please drop a comment below and tell us where you are tuned in from. I'm your host and producer Ali Badawi, and it's Friday the 7th of June. We are streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. Please remember to follow the One Mic Show on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we are now on TikTok. On panel with me tonight is Mr. One Mic Kamakawa. Sports anchor Mika Och might just make it into the building. We're not sure. We'll find that out. And our resident DJ Omosh Fire, I'm a cooler fair and is missing in action again. Anyone who knows where DJ Omosh Fire is, please report him to us. Tell us where he is so that we can bring him back. He's been away. I think this is his 3rd week away. And also not forgetting our super producer, Mubelwa Bandio. And we are going to get started right away because we have a lot to cover tonight. I can see Washeke is already in the building, tuned in. Washeke karibu sana. Washeke is asking, Cecil hajarudi kutoka ATL. We don't know where he is. He's supposed to be here DJing for us, but he's missing in action. Since he went to meet the president in Atlanta,
brown envelope.
We have not seen him. We don't know whether he got a brown envelope, and he's been spending it since then. Now, actually, before we get started, I just quickly want to come into the studio, introduce a couple of the hosts, and then we're gonna get started. I'm gonna start right here on my left-hand side, and as Mika is getting ready, I can see Sambaza Podcast is already in the building. Sambaza says, "Hello guys, your guest is the only one who has done a full circuit of the Rugby Sevens. Only 2 other people have done the same, and they're a lady and another guy from Samoa." I think that's what he told me when he was on Sambaza Podcast. We are gonna verify this. You know, the One Mic Show is the space for verification. We are gonna let our guests verify this. We are gonna have our own verifiers verifying this. Mika, I wanna take this opportunity kukaribisha sana. How are you doing today, Mika?
I'm doing very well.
Okay. How's your week been?
My week has been fine. I cannot complain. It's just been like any other week, but yeah, it's been fine. This one was long and hot.
Okay. Aya, karibu sana. Ulipatikana na tornado. You know there was a tornado in Maryland. I don't know if that tornado made it to Virginia.
Rednecks will shoot it.
Okay. Aya, let me also salimia unomaika salamu 1 2 and then we get started.
Karibuni tena. And by the way, just to correct you kidogo, ni Konye Wa Njoroge. You have to say Konye Wa Njoroge. You have to say it with that key accent.
Basa, with my French accent, itawezekana hiyo kweli?
No, because this is the Queen. It's a
Queen's language.
You cannot butcher the Queen's language.
It's a Queen Mumbi.
Yeah. Konye Wa Njoroge.
Konye Wa Njoroge.
Konye Wa Njoroge.
Okay. I'm gonna try it. But we can spice it. We can gentrify it kidogo. Spice it.
No. This is the top of the tops.
Top of the tops.
Yes.
Okay. No gentrification.
Kuna.
Okay.
As it is, on point like a decimal.
Okay. Sawa. Let's get started because there's so much that we have to cover tonight. Now we know that last season ended on a heartbreaking note for Kenya rugby fans around the world. Now, for the first time in 23 years, the Kenya rugby team got relegated from the World Rugby 7 series. Tears could be seen streaming down the heroes of Singapore 2016 after suffering an agonizing 12-7 defeat to Canada in the London Sevens playoff final at Twickenham. Now, there had been a backdrop of mismanagement by the union, players not getting paid, and a slew of other off-field issues that led to Shujaa's relegation from the World Rugby Sevens series. And while things were falling apart towards the end of the season, Sasha Mutai got elected as chairman of the Kenya Rugby Union, replacing Odwor Gangla. While all was lost with the Kenyan team relegated to the second-tier Challenger Cup, a small group of hardcore rugby fans banded together to keep the flame burning as Shujaa was rebuilding. The fans traveled to unusual venues in the rugby circuit, including cities like Harare, Munich, and Montevideo in Uruguay. We, of course, also saw them celebrate Kenya's promotion back to the World Rugby Sevens series last week in Madrid. Which brings us to our conversation of the day. And joining us tonight to talk about this epic journey of the Kenya Sevens rugby team is none other than Konye Wa Njoroge. Now, Konye is among the most familiar faces on TV cameras anywhere in the world where the Kenya rugby team is playing. He's known for showing up earliest for the games and leaving last. He also never skips leg day on his daily fitness routine, no matter how many hours he spent awake. So let's give it up for Kenya's #1 rugby fan, Konye Wa Njoroge. And Konye, karibu sana, karibu on the One Mic Show. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I'm here, loud and clear.
Okay, asante sana, Konye. Now, how's your day? Or I don't know whether it's night, midday, or midnight, depending on what part of the world you're in, because you're known to be in different places. So we don't even know where you are. So, Konye, how is whatever time you're in, wherever you're in, going?
Hey, good morning from Kampala, Uganda. It's about 3:15 a.m. and I'm out here waiting out for this juicy conversation.
Okay, karibu sana. So you're not in Madrid. That backdrop is not a Madrid, Spain backdrop. That's a Ugandan, what do you call it? Drapes or curtains? Zinaitwaje hizo?
We're gonna call them curtains today.
Curtains. Kwa Kiswahili tunazita pazia.
They identify as curtains today.
They identify as curtains. Okay. Yeah, sawa.
That's correct.
Ama, that's a closet. Those are some of your clothes hanging back there.
No, those are not clothes hanging.
Okay.
There's no skeletons here. We just identify as.
Okay. Sawa, karibu sana. Now, let's get started off with Madrid last week, where the Kenya Sevens team beat Germany to earn a spot back in the World Series. Talk to us about that experience, because it's still fresh. Like watu wengi tulikuwa tumeingiwa tumbo joto. We had butterflies. We did not know what was going to happen. What was the mood like in Madrid pre-tournament? Konye.
So, thank you for having me here, and I just want to send a vote of thanks to a lot of Kenyan fans from all over the world that and showed up to Madrid for this epic tournament. This epic tournament had its first time. It's the first time that they're doing sevens in Madrid, and actually it's a different format where we also almost have 4 tournaments in one tournament. So building up to it the build-up was pretty big. Again, it's been advertised as one of the biggest grand finale throughout the year. We did not know what to expect, considering this was completely new. So we had a band of people Kenyans that were able to, commit to time. Quite a few people from, the Schengen nations, and then a lot of Irish fans, a lot of UK fans flew in for their pseudo vacations, and we all met up in Madrid. The build-up was strong, considering we had come off a tournament in Munich a couple of weeks before, where unfortunately we did not finish where we wanted to be. We finished at number 5 instead of where we were expecting to be in the top 3, hopefully. But again, we lost a critical match that kind of beat us, which beat ourselves. But again, you live and learn. If you ever played any sport, you have to realize that some days you're going to lose some games and some days you're going to win some games. So going up to Madrid, we were really anxious, and we knew that if you lose a game, there's a possibility that you may not be able to get a chance. But then we came to find out that every team that had played in the season actually had an opportunity on the last day to redeem themselves. So even if you had won all the games during the weekend, you could have potentially lost the last game, and that would have been it. So there was a lot of butterflies on Sunday. So let's make it short.
Okay, now that right there was very confusing, because even going into the tournament, I personally thought that I had understood what it would take for Kenya to qualify. Then I found out that I actually did not understand, because my assumption was that the top two teams in the two pools automatically qualify. So when Kenya won the second game, like I was busy celebrating that to make qualify, only to be told that there is another playoff game happening the next day, which became very scary. It was a one and done. You win or you go home. And of course, in that game, I think, like Germany scored the first try, Tumbojoto, Mara Tumekula Sinbin. But we went and had a very emphatic win. And there was a picture that Arigi captured when that try was being scored, when those two German players were trying to tackle, they were trying to run after a Kenyan who was going to score a try. And to me, that was representative of the whole season. Like, goodbye relegation, and we are back. So that was really, really amazing. But at the same time, it was very scary. I don't know whether you guys were feeling the same thing out in the stands.
Oh, the energy was live. The energy was live. As you are able to recall, first again, Germany drew the first blood.
Yeah.
And that's when the reality hits. Mike Tyson usually says, "You're always ready for a boxing match until you get punched in the face." That's a famous, Mike Tyson quote.
Yeah.
So when Germany drew the first blood, we were like, "Wow, this is reality." But I think if you were to look at the replay of the game, after that initial try for Germany, we were matured, as we try to say. The boys were matured. Basically, means that they put on their shoulders that they had to give everything that they had to make that happen. The infamous picture that you're talking about is the famous King George, aka George Oro. He's a really good and passionate player, and when he comes in, he's almost a finisher, what we call the bomb squad. He comes in for the last 4 minutes of the game, but he's a very big impact player. So that's an epic picture that is gonna be ingrained in our memories for a very, very long time. There are other players who made some good plays, including like George Okoth. Wekesa has always been performing, because I think all the other teams were expecting, our wingers to be the ones to be catching the ball, but then we have a different mode of attack.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't just the picture, but even the video, when it came to the finishing. He got the ball, he stole the ball, and he just alienda, na kaenda, and then the dance after. To me, that represented the old Kenya, the Kenya that we were missing. The players who were playing loose, they were playing happy, they were dancing, and I think that's when Kenya is at its most dangerous.
And
Mika.
So, for me, where Konye said matured, for me, I actually felt that at that particular moment, because when they started the game, we were making stupid mistakes, follow through on the tackles. Like we were so anxious to go score a try and win. We were so anxious of going to winning this game that we forgot we were better than them. So I think it got like the boys just remembered who they are and how good they are, and the moment they relax and they're like, "Yo, we are better than these people," and the moment they relax, we're a good team. And we saw from the try that we scored, right? Because they scored, we scored, then we got a yellow, then they pinned us on our 22 for quite a while because we did a few penalties. But then what happened? We relaxed. And with 6 players, we basically outplayed them with 6 players. By the time our yellow was done, there was no way for them to come back in that game. Like you could see there was this happy, they were enjoying the game, right? And then they were feeding from the crowd, when you saw the crowd jumping and dancing and laughing, and then even when you scored, you didn't hear that that you usually hear. Like the crowd nyamazed, then started singing again, and it just got into them, and they flew with that.
That was some amazing moments. And here Sambaza says, I guess Konye Wa Njoroge has done the full circuit on both the two league sides. We're gonna find that. We're gonna find out about that. And then on our YouTube, I wanna welcome Jeff Odwach. We're also on YouTube. So Jeff, karibu sana. Jeff is following us. Now Konye. Now before we continue with the rugby stories, earlier this week, soon after we posted the flyer for this show, we were told by a couple of people to put some respect on your name and call you Dagitare, aka Doctor. Now, for those that just know you from the rugby circuit, tell us why we were being hounded and asked to put some respect on your name. Konye.
Some people feel like there was some omissions on my name, and believe that I've earned my stripes to be called a doctor. But I have learned over time that when you live on titles, sometimes those titles can be the ones that are pulling you down, because it kind of pulls you from who you truly are. I am truly Konye. When you meet me on the street, I'm Konye. If I meet a stranger, I'm Konye. When I talk deeper, when we start asking what I do, which is going to be probably the last of my things, and I'm going to tell you what I do. But I'm going to tell you what I'm a dad and everything else in between. I'm a rugby fan. I'm a passionate investor. I'm a humanitarian. I'm a philanthropist. But at the end of the day, what gives me my bread, again, I'm a doctor. I'm actually a board certified doctor in Los Angeles, California. Okay. And I work as an intensive care unit doctor and an emergency medicine doctor.
Okay, all right.
And he also fix muscles.
We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that, about you fixing muscles. But so day to day, your profession, like studied, not doctor, not the titles akujekele, because there are people out there who call themselves doctor. In Kenya when you go, kuna mtu anaweka kibao daktari, sijui anatibu mapenzi, anatibu broken hearts, anatibu sijui nini na nini. So this is you're actually a board certified doctor, and that's your profession, because a lot of people actually do not know that. They just see Konye in the stands, they don't know that Konye is a medical doctor.
Isn't he a surgeon?
So actually, a little background story. So when I got into medical school, I thought I wanted to do neurosurgery. Those plans did not turn out as I thought. I did not end up doing neurosurgery. I ended up doing emergency medicine. After which I ended up doing for fellowship, and I did neurocritical care. So I worked very close with the neurosurgeons. And I see what they do, and I'm thankful I don't do what they do, because I would not have as much time as I have now to travel and truly enjoy my life if I was working as a neurosurgeon.
Okay, all right. So that's we're gonna talk about your travel schedule, because that's another question people ask. Jamani daktari, Bamara, we are seeing him in Harare, we are seeing him in Montevideo, Uruguay, we are seeing him in Kampala, Uganda.
He could be working for
that work?
He could be working for Doctors Without Borders. He could be Doctors Without Borders.
Or he could be working from home.
Médecins Sans Frontières.
Okay, sawa. So I have Zante Iman here, who's saying, Konye, we love you. Zante Iman, so someone is professing their love right here live on the One Mic Show. But I think she's saying we. So there's more than one. So Zante, thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know if you have any question for Konye. He's here. Number to call 202. And I want to remind you that you're tuned into the One Mic Show. And I'm your host and producer, Ali Badawi. We are talking to Kenya's #1 rugby fan, Konye Wa Njoroge. Konye is talking about Konye Wa Njoroge.
So I'll give you a pass. Mujuku, I'll give you a pass. Mujuku,
yes. You know, I mean, this Nairobi West accent, you know how it goes. Now, Konye is talking about the epic comeback of the Kenya rugby team back to the World 7 series. He's currently in the land of Matoke in Champara, Uganda, attending the Legends game this weekend. He's going to be talking about that game. For those who don't know, he's known for being anywhere in the world where the Kenya rugby team is. Our lines are open. The number is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. This is your opportunity to talk to Konye. Ask him any question. You know, like we usually have this question that we ask our guests. Is there any conversation that you don't want us to have? True. Anything, a red line? And guess what Konye told us? Konye said he's an open book. So anything, if you're in love with him, if you've been eyeing him on the stands na unataka kumwambia, this is your you're never gonna get another moment like this.
Amen to that.
This is your opportunity. Any question you wanna ask him, feel free. 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. The comment section is open. Please type up. Tell us where you're tuned in from, and maybe tell us, you know, like when you first saw Konye, where you met him, and just you know, like what you think about his antics on the stands that keep the crowd going. So feel free to call in, feel free to comment, and later on the show we'll talk about Konye's clothing line and Konye the fashion guru. Yes, we're going to talk about that, so stay tuned. I want to welcome Brian Mitch. I can see Brian Mitch is tuned in, and I can also see Stephen JJ all the way from Dallas tuned in. Karibuni, please drop a comment. Let us know what you think about the conversation we're having today. Any question you have for Konye?
Huyo Brian Mitch ni Kegonyi. Kama ni wewe ni Kegonyi tap.
Yes.
Kegonyi?
Yeah, Brian Mitch is in the building, and Stephen JJ. So now let's go back to rugby, Konye, and maybe take us back to that moment that we got relegated last season at Twickenham in London. That was a very sad moment, you know, for all of us rugby fans. It was the first time in the World 7 circuit that Kenya was not going to participate in the tournament's 23-year history. What was going through your mind when that happened, Konye?
Yeah, I can remember that day clearly. It was on Sunday, the last day of the tournament in Twickenham. Last day that was supposed to determine the last day that's going to determine whether we're going to be going forward or going backward. So it was tough. It was a tough day. First, you know, with first 2 minutes, one of the best players, the youngest player, Rekesa, got knocked out, and he got an injury. So he had to come out. The next, a few minutes later, it was Tony, our kicker, could not do anymore. So we had like 5 of the starters, and then we had to get to pull the bench. And if memory serves you right, you may remember that we had a lot of players. We were all dependent on Bufa. Bufa was the ball carrier.
Yes.
And all the Canadians had read the number. And when Bufa was getting the ball, he had like 4 of the Canadians already attacking him. So, and holding on to him and taking the ball from him. So our game plan had already been mastered. And unfortunately, our coaching at that particular point was primarily dependent on that play. And when that play failed, there was almost no backup, no backing away from it. So, Canada scores. Okay, we scored first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we scored first. Unfortunately, we were not able to convert. Then, you know, Rekesa comes out, Tony comes out. We have 2 new players. And I'm like, wow. Then Canada, mysteriously, they're able to get the ball. They score in the middle, they kick, and they have a 7. They have a 5. And guess what? Canada just pulled their defense. From there on, we never touched the ball again. Mm-hmm. And man, when the final whistle blew, there was so many tears that were being shed around there. It was tough. But I think relegation comes with its own benefits, because it did come to realize that we did not have a good avenue to interject our new players. If you were to look at some of the games that were played before, where we introduced newer players that other players that the circuit players did not know, we won those games. But whenever we brought our older, you know, I hate to say this, but our Ugandans wanakuanga na sababora. They usually have the same 7 players that start the game all the time. So Kenyan teams have been marked like the same way, where everybody knew what our moves are at all times. So again, we lost the game. It was tough, but again, it helped us rebuild, and here we are celebrating, knowing that we have come from deep, dark places. Sometimes a loss is a learning experience, but if you don't learn from it, unfortunately, then you'll never progress.
Okay, now Mika has a quick question here in studio, and then tutaendelea. Mika.
No, it's not a question. It's actually adding up to what he said. Remember, Lee, when we got relegated, and I told you we need this.
Yes.
We need this.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand it at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah,
because without that relegation, we will not have sorted out. First of all, the back office of the team, which is the coach, the technical committee, and everything, and all about it. The selection of the players was again something that we need to go back and think about it and come back. And then another thing that we needed to really think about is how to, as Konye said, when you're integrating new players into the team, and also continuing with our current the current crop on how they're going to fix it. We had gotten to a point whereby we were sort of like lazy.
Exactly.
We were lazy. We were lazy. We were lazy in everything. Lazy in coaching, lazy in playing. Like if it didn't work out, we didn't know what to do next.
Complacency.
We were not doing anything.
Okay.
And we deserved to get where we were, but we also needed to get that because it was a wake-up call. And if the good thing about this is, if you notice when we went to this, when we started playing the qualifiers now,
the Challenger Series.
Yes.
Yeah.
The team was performing. Like, it was winning, finishing third, but I think our worst result has been 5th, right?
Yes, we always made it to the quarters.
Yeah, 5th has been our worst result. So the team was actually getting to it, and that is all that fighting and knowing where you're coming from is what came out on the final game. I actually was hoping we play Canada, but then I remember I told you, like, no, we need to win, because if we don't finish second and we don't get this is a final. It's going to do a do or die. So you want a team at least that is not strong, because if you find a team that is somehow strong,
but Germany had beaten
and on a
us.
one-off,
Germany had beaten us.
Yeah, but they are not having a good tournament.
Okay,
right? They are not having a good. We were having a good tournament. They were not having a good tournament, right? Something that Spain did was have a good tournament. Spain is not like they were that good. They just had a good tournament.
They had a good tournament, and they were playing at home.
Yeah, and
exactly.
they
playing at home.
Yeah, and they made it easy for themselves on the final day. Even if you saw the final game purely, like if you realize with the final game, all the top teams, number 1 and number 2, zilifungwa kwanza. Games zao zote. All.
Me, by the way,
even in the other pool, all number ones got, like, they started shaky and then they came back. Now you see, imagine if we had been complacent, we finished number 3, right? And then we meet the number 2 from the other side. And we meet the number 2, and then when we meet that number 2, we like they come with that fire that people are coming with day 2. It would have been hard. It would have made our final game hard.
I don't know whether I like that format, and I'm saying this selfishly because me liningiza tumbo joto. You know, it got me butterflies, because I'm like, I was thinking a team like Spain, they've won all their games, and they could possibly be eliminated from qualification just based on losing that one.
But then, do you know why? I didn't like it, but do you know why I saw the need of it? At the end of the day, every team was coming with a 50-50 shot of going.
Wow.
So basically what ARB did was give every team a chance to qualify up to the last minute.
No team left behind.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I have, there's a Gospel 3075 anasema sound is low. I think that was some time back. I think that sound issue has been fixed. And then I have Samuel Gikonyo, who says, Go Konye, thanks for always representing the Kenya team. Asante sana Konye. And then we have here, let me see. Let me see.
Washake Ndirango is asking
yeah.
what ignited your passion for rugby, and I guess Stephen JJ responded by saying film. Watch your film. I don't know which film he's talking about.
I think JJ is responding to anafikiria Mozaswali.
Oh, okay. Alafu Dennis Pesonga, karibu sana. Deno, we were kabisa focused this turner. Fear of failure is a good motivator.
Okay.
Supporting and echoing Mika's sentiment.
Yeah, so back to Washeke's question before we go to what it means to be relegated, because I want us to talk about that. Real quick, Washeke was asking, what is it that ignited your passion for rugby? Just briefly.
So my passion for rugby has always been since I was maybe in high school. I played a little bit of high school ball, and then I moved to the States at a very tender age, right out of high school. So when I came to the States, I had not reached my peak growth. But I started growing, and I was like, what sport am I going to play? So I played club rugby, local clubs. And then I started playing for Kenya Sevens, Kenya Excel Sevens. Kenya Excels, we had a tournament actually, a yearly tournament, a 15th tournament every end of Memorial Day. We used to have a tournament in Dallas, a 15th tournament. Then we converted it to a 7th tournament. So again, my passion has always been there. And then I stopped playing active rugby after I got into medical school. That's when I stopped playing active rugby. I used to play like every once in a while. I play touch. So my passion for rugby has always been there. But then I did realize that I really wanted to get that edge of my rugby. And then my Kenya Sevens used to come, play in Vegas, and I get this high. I try to go to Canada, and I get this high. So when I had the opportunity and I had the ability to, I was like, why can I not go and watch them play? So this actually came to reality after COVID. So if my memories, my serve you right, is that in 2020 was the last tournament in LA.
Yeah.
And then there was another one at alcohol. People having coughs, colds.
Yes.
And then they're going to play it in Canada. And guess what? After one Canada, the world shut down.
Yep.
No rugby, nothing.
Nothing.
For
Zero.
a year and a half.
Club
Some
COVID.
countries closed down. Yeah, everything closed down. So when COVID came, I'm like, wow. After COVID, I was like, wow. There's a tournament that's going to start this year, and it's going to start in Malaga, Spain. That was the first tournament post-COVID. That's the only place that we could go in, and you have to walk in with a mask, and you have to sit in the stands with a mask. I was like, but they're giving me an opportunity to go to Spain to watch rugby. So guess what I did? Bought a damn flight. Probably one of the cheapest flight I ever bought in my life. I think that flight both ways was less than $300. So I got my flight to Spain, and I met actually, talk about this. That's when I met my really great friend Evans Mbugwa, aka Showing My Love. You always see that I'm always wearing a logo like this. That's called the Showing My Love logo, just like that.
Okay.
I met him. He was carrying a Kenyan flag, and I was like, "Oh, I see some Kenyans." Oh, and guess what? That was a marriage made in heaven, maybe in hell. But we have always been together, going to different tournaments.
Okay.
Going to tournaments. We feed onto each other, and ever since then we've been going to every tournament together. We've gone to almost every continent at this particular point. So it's out of passion and realizing that our Kenyan boys have a lot of potential, but their support, again, there was not a lot of people traveling with them. I realized that other teams don't even have a single person, cheering for them, unless you can have like one random person. I was like, why can I not be? Again, I have the capability, and I love traveling. Why not I make my travel arrangements and to visit these different parts of the world where Kenya is playing, and I can watch rugby. So there it was.
Okay.
It was a marriage made in heaven or hell, whatever you want to call it, but it's lived happily ever after.
Okay,
Marriage
match made in
made-
heaven, and that other your partner, one day, hopefully, we'll also get him here to hear his perspective. I have a couple of comments coming here. Stephen JJ says, when Konye was saying teams imetusoma, ndio nilikuwa nasema kuwatch film. Watching film
okay, I get it.
is very important.
Yeah.
And then I also saw a comment from Ed Ribui, but imepotea. I don't know whether you can see it, Uno Mike, from your side. And then Moses Karumba says, uko everywhere. So, and I can see we have other people who are tuned in. Feel free to type in, ask your question. Number to call 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Now, Konye, we were relegated last season, but what exactly does it mean to be relegated? Because, of course, the obvious is we're not going to play in the main tournament next season. But what exactly did it mean? Because I think a lot of casual fans had no understanding, like what it meant in as far as finances, in as far as sponsorship, and just a lot of other privileges that come with being in the main series. Konye.
So you may realize again, this is mostly stuff from the clubs, and again, most fans, again, they're barely learning what rugby means, what rugby rules are. So some people don't even understand. But the nitty-gritty of it is that once you get relegated, you lose a lot of funding. World Rugby provides a lot of funding for the teams that are in the top. The teams that are in the main series, they get a lot of funding to be able to develop their programs, advance their systems. So when you lose that funding, then your sponsors are going to look at you and they're going to be like, well, your team is not performing as good. Why would I be spending so much money on you and you're not producing what you're supposed to be getting? So that becomes a tussle where, again, the union had to bargain with our main sponsor, which was a sports pesa, to try and get some funds. They were almost pulling out. But again, if your memory serves you right, again, there was also a lot of tussle in the boards at that point. There was an upcoming election, so we had a change in management at the top in KRU, which also played an effect because, again, all the sponsors were pulling out and such. Again, this has been talked of in the media, in the news a lot about what was going on in the background. And unfortunately, you realize that all the stuff that was going on in the background affects the boys in the front. So losing that kind of big funding, that's the biggest picture. Once you lose the World Rugby funding, that becomes a big tussle because you're almost walking on one leg and trying to climb some stairs.
Wow, walking on one leg and trying to climb some stairs, which is one of the reasons why I got worried, because I got into a little bit of reading of what happens when a team is relegated, and it was very scary because we've previously seen teams on the circuit relegated and never came back. So I know, so that was something that was ringing in my mind, and I was like, is this what's gonna happen to Kenyan rugby? Now, Mika, you had mentioned, about the possibility of relegation, because you're one of the people in this group who understands rugby at that very technical level, having played the game. So most of us were going by just emotions and passion. Then the relegation happened. Did you at any point, go back and think that there's some teams that have been relegated and never got back?
Oh yes, you have the fear of relegation. When you see that fear of relegation, as Konye said, relegation does come with a lot of complicated things. Alafu kwanza, especially for us, whereby the union depends on sponsors, and most Kenyan sponsors don't really mess with you when you're losing. Not even most. Kenyan sponsors don't mess with you when you're losing. When you're not performing, no company is going to put money on you. But when you're winning,
everyone,
all of them, even the government, are your friend. Right? So you have to perform to get money. They don't give you money to improve yourself to perform.
So you have to perform to get money.
Yes.
I mean, that was a very tricky and
so there was that fear. There was always that fear of it. But then, for me, the one thing that gave me a beacon of hope was that there was an election that was going to happen.
Oh, election 2022.
Yes.
Hustler government.
Yeah. See, Agava.
Yeah.
Election
you're talking about
union.
Yeah.
I'm mixing elections.
Yeah.
Maze unajua elections in Kenya. Very
No. At least traumatized. At least traumatized. Ever since 2022 August.
No.
Elections in Kenya very traumatic.
No, rugby elections.
Yeah. Okay. Rugby
and at that point,
yeah,
the clear winner looked like it was going to be Sasha.
Okay.
And one thing I know Sasha knows how to do is look for money.
Okay. All right, because he had been in the union before.
And he had played, and he had been before he played. And then Kenya, Shujaa is the guy who brought us the Virgin Atlantic sponsorship, the first sponsorship we ever got for that team. And when he was the chairman at that particular time, that team performed really well. So I knew that he was gonna try. If he was gonna succeed in bringing us back, it was not gonna be due to lack of failure.
Okay.
So that was my beacon of hope. And then another beacon of hope that I knew is that the pride that those players have in them, they were going to walk all over the Challenger Series.
Interesting.
Because the one thing I knew is that they knew they're the ones who brought us there. And they accepted the responsibility. And most of them knew that we have to fix this. If we don't fix this, it's not going to happen. So there was hope in saying that if we had the mixture of a few things, it was coming back. And then now you see those pretenders from rugby were also going to run away because of relegation. There's no money. There's nothing. So anybody who's going to stick with rugby is somebody who wants to see rugby work.
So it was good to sieve the trash.
Yes.
Yeah, it was good to sieve the trash and get out the people who were there just to post.
Yes. Now you watch this, see how politicking is going to kick up.
Now that's my biggest fear, and I think I think we have experience of politicking and what politicking and mismanagement can do, because we peaked in 2016 when we won in Singapore, and politicking took over after that, and it led to a relegation in 2023. And I can see here some comments coming in now. DJ Omosh Fire has popped up on the timeline. He's still missing in action since he went to Atlanta to see the president, not the KRU president, the president of Kenya, when he was in Atlanta. We have not seen him ever since, and we don't know where he is. He's supposed to be here DJing for the show. So anyone who's seen DJ Omosh Fire, please report him and report where he is and report what he's doing, because we don't know whether he got a brown envelope. We don't know what happened to him. He's just not been reporting to duty. Alikula fair na hajarudi tena. I can see Edward Ribui anasema, I went to high school with Konye Wa Njoroge. He's my fitness buddy and we continue to push each other in the weight room. Great man. And then Moses Karumba anauliza, what school did you attend back home, Konye? I know you said everything is open, so please tell us whether it was RVA or Nyakemincha. Please tell us which school you attended.
Mimi, again, as I said, I'm from Nakuru, and I'm very proud. I went to Menengai High School. Najua kuna wengine when walienda secondary school.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went to high school.
Okay. Not Menengai Secondary School, Menengai High School.
There's no Menengai Secondary School.
That was the most funniest thing, because I remember when we used to go to play Noroge, alafu watu wa patch na
changes.
Ndambia tulikuwa tunauliza, like we used to, at that time they just called Nairobi School.
Yeah.
Tulikuwa tunauliza shuleni inaitwa Nairobi School. Right? Yetu inaitwa the African Government School, Kakamega High School.
The African Government School, Kakamega High School.
Kunaambia siku ile mtafika hiyo status na mkuja mtongeleshe. Nyinyi regular high school, Nairobi School, right?
Nairobi School.
Shule ya kawaida.
Ama Kangemi Boys.
Shule ya kawaida, like kuna status. Alafu so basikia Konye mletengine ya secondary.
Menengai High School and Menengai Secondary.
Alafu kuna ile DB. Kuna ile DB. District Educational Board.
By the way, your DB ilikuwa inamaanisha nini? I used to see it after certain schools. Or District Educational Board. So
no.
I used to
District Educational Board, yeah, that's why District Educational Board.
Okay. And then Linetta Yuko here says, Konye Wa Njoroge, amazing human, and the support he gives the boys is great. Solid friend and people. I have Marine Gikonyo, he's tuned in, and he says, please don't ask him which school he went to. He will attack Sisi Watua Secondary School.
Which just happened.
Too late.
Did I tell you?
Kwani Marine went to which secondary school?
Nakuru Day Secondary School.
Oh my goodness.
Marinated Nakuru Day.
But for clarity purposes, Nakuru Day in my year, Nakuru Day was actually the most dominant. That and Njoro Boys were the most dominant, and Nakuru High were the most dominant schools in Nakuru. So,
Dominant in what
they
sense?
produce some good rugby.
Or in rugby, education. Dominant
High school rugby.
in high school rugby, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, high school rugby.
Because it could mean a lot of things. It could be dominant in
Yeah,
eating,
you know that-
striking.
That was the funny thing. Like Nakuru had so many like good schools. Naziko, Nini. The only other region that had that kind of you find a small concentrated area with good school was in Western. So outside of Western, because even Nyanza azikuwa ati Nyanza ilikuwa Yala na Maseno.
Yeah.
Maseno.
Yeah, and then maybe you go to
Yala,
Kisii and the
St. Mary's Yala.
and
St. Mary's, yeah.
there was this one Kadinolotunga. So
Yeah.
Kadinolotunga, so it was Maseno, Yala, Kadinolotunga, and Kadinolotunga. Those three schools in Nyanza. But in Western, then in Western you'll find Mumias Boys, Kakamega, Musingu, Kamusinga, like Bungoma. There were a lot of strong. Yeah. Then the next place you'll go that you'll find outside of Nairobi, a high concentration of good rugby schools was Nakuru.
Nakuru. Okay. Quite interesting. There's
Nakuru Day, Marine Nakuru Day.
Yeah, there's that book, 100 Years of Rugby. Just remind me the name of the author. Was it? I can't remember. I can't remember the name. No, it's not Arigi. There's a book on 100 Years of Rugby that
We're gonna Google
that is explaining, like what happened through the 100 years. I've seen some highlights of the book. I think that's a good book to read to also understand how rugby moved around in Kenya. And I'm glad now rugby is being played by a lot of schools. It moved away from certain specific schools that used to play rugby.
The current national champions is Butula Boys. It's the school like our Ocha, like our local Ocha school there, right? Maybe when I left Kenya, that school is not playing rugby. Haikukuwa inachezwa huko.
Yeah, and now they're the champions.
Now they're the national champions of rugby.
That is very interesting, and I think that's why we are producing so many different players, like from different parts of Kenya and from schools that you never expected would produce.
Ofafa Jericho.
Yeah, Ofafa is
the
actually
best school in Nairobi right now in rugby.
They were known for soccer.
Yeah, they were known for soccer.
They were known
Soccer
for soccer.
was a big soccer school.
Yeah, it was a big soccer school.
Now they're a very
big on rugby.
with a very big rugby school.
And this goes to show you when kids are growing up seeing success, it becomes very easy for them to want to emulate that success. Which brings me to my next question, because this young team that we are seeing right now, some of these guys were in high school when we were winning Singapore, when we were at the peak of our game. So these guys knew this is all they knew. Like Kenya is successful in rugby. So even when they were going out to play, they were going out with a pep in their step that we are very good, and we're actually seeing it. So looking at the makeup of the team, Konye, there's that transition that we've been talking about from the championship team that won Singapore in 2016 to the youthful squad that we have right now. And a lot of rugby fans are still unfamiliar with them because these are the new kids on the block. Talk to us a bit about the players and how that transition happened, because transitions are usually very difficult, especially when you have those players who are legendary. Like they won the only 7-circuit tournament that Kenya has only won, and now you have to transition. You now have to let go and let these new guys come in. Talk to us about some of these new players. A lot of people don't know them, and how that transition was effected.
Konye. How many circles have we won?
No, the Rugby Sevens.
Yeah.
One. We've only won Singapore.
Was that
Singapore? That's it.
We didn't win Canada.
No, it was in Singapore.
No, that was
Canada tulifika finals. We lost to Fiji.
Is it Agre Chabeda, the author?
No, it's not Agre Chabeda.
Okay.
It's not Agre Chabeda. It is
Something
it's
Olo.
something Olo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright,
I think
sawa.
it's yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember Singapore. Nikiamsha umoshi usiku, amuka tunashinda kikombe. Yeah,
Yes, it was Singapore. I remember that moment, and I remember exactly where I was. But Konye, back to you. Transition.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so transition is always hard. Transition is always hard. Again, as you always say, the last several years we've had big players. Kayanges, Afkuna Kolo. And then when these players get older, we were not having good replacements for them. Because again, earlier we were talking about the Sababora. We already know that we have this talent. So we gotta keep milking these guys up until they can't do it anymore. You remember even walking up to the World Rugby Tournament in South Africa. Even Kolo was called back, and he had retired. So we're fully dependent on our older players and not tapping on the new talent because of fear, because we don't know how they're going to play. But after relegation, it was an eye opener. They're like, something needs to change. So they got some younger kids, and historically, most of the team was made from the top tier teams. Kina KCB, Kina Nakuru, Kina Menengai Oilers, all those big teams are the ones that produce a big crop for the players that were in the national team. But then after relegation, we have a young kid like Adongo. Adongo plays, for Daystar University, which is not a tier, it's in a lower level. So we started discovering talent from all around the sport. We stopped picking and choosing. And then previously, if some memory serves you right, you may remember that there was also a lot of corruption in terms of team selection. There used to be lazima kungekuwa na wase wakadhaa wa mwamba, sijui kungekuwa na wangapi wa kutoka klabu gani, sijui nini. There was all that.
Klabu ya chairman inatoa players wengi.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have an equality where everybody is being selected on merit, not because of a name, that is what has changed the game. Because these kids are all put in the same scale. Because you can remember, mashida tulikuwa nazo, people don't get paid, wanaamua hatuendi kufanya mazoezi, because again they're hungry and they're walikuwa wameshazoea, wanagoma kwenda tizi. But now the kids are all in the same equal ground. Unfortunately, we still have the same problem. Sometimes they don't get paid on time, but hopefully these things are going to change. So these kids get selected to the team because of how they're performing, how their conditioning is. So you're picking the cream of the crop, not because you're by name. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a lot of new kids that people don't even know. But over the years, again, like over the last several years, I've gone to the 7th circuit in Kenya. So I've got to know these kids. I've seen them play, and you know them in person. You hang with them in person. You know their difficulties. So that is where I get in, because I know these boys. These boys know me. They know my number. If there's any problems, they call me. They reach out. They always have some problems. And again, especially back in several months back, when we did not have any funding, these kids were barely trying to make it to practice, because again, you have to make it to practice by yourself. You have to feed yourself.
Wow.
You have to feed your kids, and you don't have any money coming in. So that's the stuff that I was doing in the background. Again, it's not something that I'm not here to just
we want you to talk about it.
But it's just something that I did for the boys.
Yes. And we want you to talk about it. And we want you to talk about it because it's very important for the world to know, like what was happening in the background.
In the background things are tough. Again, some of these kids don't know when they're going to get the next meal. So things were tough. And again, there's also a lot of issues with the players. Some players, again, are seen as behavioral problems, but they're interjected because of what is going on at home. Kama unaenda nyumbani na watoto wana chakula wanakuangalia na unasema unaenda kucheza ball, what are you going to explain to kids? So it's hard. So when you get to know these kids and you know the hardships that they go through, you really cannot stop following them. You have to see them through. You have to enjoy when they're succeeding and shed a tear with them when they're losing, because you know that one day it's going to be a brighter day.
Wow, Konye, this is so interesting. On the ceremony where they were being feted by the government after qualifying in Madrid, Spain, when they went back home, you shared that video with us, and I noted some very interesting things which I think I personally didn't know, and most people didn't know, that these kids, for some of them, for most of them, this was their first trip ever outside Kenya. This were, this Challenger series. This was their first trip. This was their first trip outside Kenya. This was their first time to go inside a plane. And the very interesting thing is that when they got on the pitch, this is something that we would never have known, because they had a certain confidence that that I did not see before. You know, like going back to when things were getting started, when we were playing the qualifiers, and you know, it was those moments when we were very low. When playing the qualifiers in Harare, Zimbabwe, we were able
Actually,
to.
that was for Olympics qualification.
Yeah, for Paris qualification. Yeah. Yeah, you know, like I had my doubts. You know, like I didn't know this new team, but they went on and beat South Africa. You know, and South Africa now, I don't know whether they have to qualify through a back door. I don't know.
There's a repechage coming in 2 weeks in Monaco.
Okay, that's interesting. That will be very interesting to watch. It's very interesting to watch easy repechage when Kenya is not playing. Now a whole sevens nation like South Africa has to qualify through the back door. So this was very interesting. Mika.
That moment, remember when they qualified for the Olympics, and remember I said this team is going back up. This team is going back up. It's not gonna struggle. It's gonna go back up. And there were still doubts. People are thinking it's a one-off thing, but that was supposed to show you that these kids were good. And that even for that, that's why for that German game, I remember I just whispered to myself, like, man, you're better than them. Relax. And the moment that team relaxes, they beat anybody. Like they are so good. They know when to, like, there's a balance. You can see there's a balance of when they know when to be physical, they know when to be swift, they know when to be tactical. They know it's just a mix of that, getting the experience, like continuing with that game and getting the experience of knowing when to relax. When to, you remember that New Zealand side of Kina Dan Norton, right? Kina Tomasi Kama. You remember that team never panicked. Even if you scored 2 tries against them, quick tries, pop, they never panicked, and they won the game because they knew how good they were. That is the level this team is supposed to strive to. And the moment this team relaxes to that point, yeah, it's going to dominate this series. Quite easy.
Yeah, what I liked about the team when I saw them in Harare is, you know, I was surprised again to see Konye on the stands. You know, I'm like, well, I mean, I know Konye goes to all the series, but Konye was on the stands in Harare, Zimbabwe. I'm like, Allah. But when
that was probably the best tournament that I had gone to in a long time.
Oh, interesting. Why would you say that? What was it? Why was it the best tournament?
It was interesting because again, we had all new kids that nobody knew, and then we had a new coach. And we're playing a completely different game. Our playing style, if you were to look and compare that to previous, you realize the game was being played completely different.
Totally, yeah.
So, and you could see that the boys had a lot of cohesion. Again, we did not have a sponsor. Even the preparation for Harare was not the most ideal. But again, because we were still trying to tussle with Sports Press, such trying to give us some funding immediately after relegation, several months before. Because remember the qualifiers was in September, and we had just been relegated in May. So there was still that, my players, they don't get any, there are still not even enough funds for them. So there was still a lot of things in the background that was happening. But again, when you have the players that can listen to their Coach Bling, my friend, and man, these kids believe in him, and they look at him in the eye, and they truly believe in what he says. If you can recall, when we had before relegation, there were some calls that were really made, by our coach then, that were really, it did not make any sense. There was some, again, and it did look like, and the team was not in cohesion. It's kind of fragmented. So when the boys are all united, they're young, you mold them right, it makes a big difference.
Wow! So
that's where you saw the product.
Yeah. So this is quite interesting, and of course with the chairmanship of Sasha Mutai, we've already seen the 2 main goals within a year of his leadership of qualifying for the Paris Olympics and being promoted back to the World Rugby 7 series. Those goals have already been achieved. So this is just a start, and we are hoping for greater things to happen. A couple of comments were coming here when we were talking. Stephen JJ, no, actually, first Washeka was saying he went to Nakuru Blanket. I think that's an internal Nakuru joke. And then and then Stephen JJ says hata hai soka ni wanoma. And then I also saw some comments here that were coming in on YouTube. Geoffrey Jumba anasema Marine alienda shule pale Jehanamu. So I mean I think these Nakuru jokes are very intense.
These are rugby jokes.
Yeah,
these are rugby jokes.
These rugby jokes are very intense. And then I can see also Gladys Shujaa is also tuned in. Welcome to the One Mic Show, Asante Sana. I can see Asikoe Justo of Jabali Africa tuned in. I can see Sir Winston Ojuang, Paulette Njeri. I can see, like Washeke. There was something that Washeke said. I think I lost her. Oh, there it is. Washeke says, Konye exemplifies a true patriot. He should be one of the people that receive presidential awards instead of politicians we tend to reward. Or Githeriman. Githeriman got an award. But anyway, that's a story for another day.
Konye, that's the trauma I'm talking about. Your trauma you're voting ya Kenya.
Yes. Yes, but Githeriman got the award before the elections. So you can't even blame it on the elections. Githeriman got the award before the election, so you can't even blame it on the elections.
It was after the elections.
Yeah.
It was after the elections.
It was before.
No,
it
was
after.
So,
boss,
yeah,
it was
if
before.
You have to look, if you have to look at little thing, as Ali had said, if you look at the speeches that were being made, everybody cheers when everybody's winning. The government officials, the ministry is all, they're all pumping more, they're promising more money, more funds. But when the team is hurting, and you already know, so again, I'm a physician, I'm a doctor, right? So if you come to me and you tell me that at the A, B, and C, my back is hurting and my legs are hurting, and I tell you it's because you don't work and you don't exercise, and you refuse to exercise, so what am I supposed to do? I tell you that maybe you can start walking at 20 steps a day, and you refuse. But when the union tells the ministry that we need this kind of money so that we can improve our facilities, so that we can be able to compete at a higher level, the ministry did not even out. They're not willing to dish money out. They're saying, okay, you guys gotta prove yourself. But how are you gonna be able to prove yourself when you're not getting any help? But when they win, guess what? They said, Shujaa stadium, Shujaa equipment, it will make top tier. So everybody wants to associate with the winners, but when you're hurting, nobody wants to deal with you.
So I think, because you've been there, from when they were very low, and now, they're on their way up. So what you're saying is the rugby people should be wary of everybody who's trying to bank, to jump onto this success. Because right now we are on our way up, and I saw, in that meeting that you sent to us, I saw the cabinet minister was there, Babu Namwamba. There were permanent secretaries. There were all kinds of government officials.
I can assure you, those guys didn't even watch those games.
Now,
Babu was there.
No,
in the stands. I don't know if you watched the games, but I know he was in the stands.
No, at least Babu was there in Madrid. I don't know whether he was there in Harare. I don't know whether there was any cabinet secretary in Harare.
Only Konye can confirm.
Let me tell you, him going to Madrid, Sawa, he was obligating his duties, right? But Sawa, yeah, Liana. But I'm saying all those officials that you're saying, all those people, even the sponsors that come in last minute and want to dandy the team, I will assure you, they know about the results of this team from the news, or they are told in the morning briefing at the office. Oh, by the way, that is how detached they are from the reality of how the sports teams are performing in that country.
Mika say that it's very sad. When I was watching that video, there are people who are in the sports ministry, and the way they are talking about it, it's like they were briefed. Yeah. And I'm like, this game, even if you never had a chance to watch it live, at least go watch the highlights. It's a very short game. Go watch the highlights. The way they were talking about it, I was just cringing, and that's the reason why was there any government present? Because Harare, before we qualified, that was our lowest of low. We had just come off
and if we would not have qualified, in Harare, that could have been the final nail in the coffin of this team.
I think that was exactly. So to keep it right, to keep it straight and narrow, The only person that was there, and I gotta give a big shout out to the Zimbabweans, Kenyans in Zimbabwe, my friend. Even me saying that like gives me goosebumps. Those guys, they treated us. They have a very good organization, Kenyans in Zimbabwe. They treated us so good. I've never seen anything like that in my life. So the Kenyans in Zimbabwe, they organize themselves, they make t-shirts. So me and Evans just go there. We're like, okay, we'll just go to Harare, Pasababu. You know, what else are we gonna go to? Let's go to rugby. To relegation. So we get there, we find Kenyans in the stands. Wakatupatia makreti za pombe kwanza, wakatueleza kama pombe. Kuna pombe za Mbezi. Tukakabidhiwa kreti za pombe.
Standard operating procedure.
And the standard procedure, that is protocol number one. And then the embassy in Zimbabwe, the Kenyan embassy in Zimbabwe is very, very strong. They were there all the 3 days. All the 3 days they were there. The embassy staff were there. And then on the last day, guess what they did?
So you guys were okay. So you guys
and
were
then
happy.
tulichinjua mbuzi kama 3.
Oh my goodness.
Alafu after that ukaenda kulift weights.
No wonder you love Harare.
On Monday lazima. You don't skip Mondays.
You don't why kabisa. That's a rule.
Don't skip Monday. Don't skip Monday. So, but I say, so Zimbabwe, again, as you say that, come up and lose in Zimbabwe. That was it. We were in the quarter that.
Man, this is very scary. I mean, I know we are just talking casually about this, but this is very scary, and I think a lot of people did not quite understand, like what exactly it means to be relegated. It could have potentially completely killed the sport. So we have, especially the people who are there at our lowest. To me, those are the most important people that need to be remembered.
We could have ended up like cricket.
Yeah, cricket ilikufa. Cricket died, and we once made the semi-finals of the World Cup.
Yep, we could have ended up like cricket. Even pole too, like it would have gone a slow death. Even pole naishi.
Shish, this is so sad. Washeke says, is there a way for Kenyan teams to be run like corporations, like in the West? This might be what we need to develop talent and ensure resources are available. Konye, that's a very interesting question, because I've always wondered, like teams, not only rugby, even soccer, where there's so much demand for certain teams, but the teams are 100% dependent on sponsors and sometimes are very limited on what revenue the team itself can bring in. Konye.
So again, this is always a bigger point of contention. Again, it's funny, if you've lived overseas, worked in the corporate world, you already know. I have 30 players, and 30 players, they're barely getting maybe, they're getting paid maybe. The best player is getting 30K a month, okay? Say, for example. So you know your budget, it is much a month, okay? You already know that you have this number of players that are playing for the national team. If you have this number of national team, why don't you put them on a budget? I'm saying this money is always going to be available for these kids on these days of the month, so they can play a game. I know they're not necessarily completely 100%, they're not 100% professional, but this is what we have. We can set up these funds, but unfortunately, there's not that many funds. We depend on sponsors, and the sponsor pulls out, then we don't have any tubes, and then we don't have a way of making our own money. There is some revenue that's made in like tournaments, like Safari 7 makes some money. There's some entrance costs in some of these tournaments that is shared between KRU and the clubs. Like if there's a game in Cabras, the entrance cost is split between. I don't know how they do it. I don't deal with politics. I walk away from politics like the plague, because I know that's where you guys start going down. But I just look at it from a big picture personally being in the corporate world, and I'm like, there is simple math, but people make it so complicated.
This is very interesting conversation. Again, the number to call 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. We have Konye Wa Njoroge talking about rugby, the epic story of how Kenya got relegated and how they got back to the main Cup series, and now they're also heading to the Olympics. Now, a bit of a break from rugby, Konye. We always see you with colorful attire like what you have right now and paraphernalia in the rugby stands. Now, you actually have a clothing line that most of our listeners maybe might not know about. Please tell us a bit about your attire.
I did not know he has one.
Yes, so please tell us about your attire and maybe how people can actually get that colorful stuff. In fact, there was some R-rated stuff that you were wearing in Madrid. A picture of you was taken, which which we were debating here if we use that on the flyer. You know, like all the parents who listen to this show with their kids might never come back again.
We'll what is the word? We'll get blacklisted.
We'll get blacklisted. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, it's not my personal brand. It's a brand that I push for and I support. It's called Showing My Love. And as you can always see it like this, Showing My Love. As I might have mentioned, when I went to my very first tournament in Madrid, I met Evans Bugwa. Evans Bugwa there were a guy holding a Kenyan flag saying, "I love 254." So this is his personal brand, and I push for it. But on the other side is Camp Konye Fitness. So we do a collab. Camp Konye Fitness is my own home personal gym that I run in Los Angeles. So we do that. We do collabs. We try to sell merchandise because we realize that when you go to the rugby games, you realize that people are always looking for something for Kenya.
Yes.
And nobody can find it. So we try and provide such merchandise. You can find it. You can follow it on Instagram, Showing My Love or Bonga Africa. And there's also a website, Showing My Love. The merchandise is usually top notch. We usually try to get the best material possible. And again, it's just a promotion and to fill in the bank and the void that is left when people need stuff that is not available.
Okay, so you said the website is
Showing My Love.
Showing My Love. Is it showing with an NG? Showing like a Jamaican. Showing like a Jamaican without the G at the end.
N, yeah, with an N.
Okay, yeah, because you know sometimes Kenyans you have to spell things for them. I'm actually gonna paste that on the comment section. So if you want any merchandise, those of you who listen to what Konye has been saying, want to support him in how he's been supporting the Kenyan rugby team, please ingia hapo Showing My Love and show your love by buying something. There's a lot of good stuff that I've seen there. So please, make sure you go in there and get something. And then Washeke here also says, I have mad props for the Shujaas. Shujaas accomplishing all they have and competing with better funded teams and coming out on top and actually competing. And that's the most interesting thing about Shujaa, is that some of these other teams have rugby players who are full-time rugby players. Like, that's all they do. Of course, our Shujaa players, some of them still have jobs. Some of them, when they go back home, they have to hustle in other ways to fend for their families.
Schools.
So some of them are attending school. So this is something that we know that Kenya, we are like maybe at 50% of our potential. If we're able to put these boys, and now we also have ladies, we're going to be talking about them shortly. If we're able to put them in structures,
imagine that,
where they can do this full time, I'm telling you, the world will be in shock. Not only in sevens, but also in 15s, which is another growing part of the game that we're going to be talking about. I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned into the One Mic Show. I'm your host and producer, Ali Badawi. We are here talking to Kenya's #1 rugby fan, Konye Wa Njoroge, or Konye as we call him in Nairobi West. Konye is talking about the epic comeback of the Kenya rugby team back to the World Series. He's currently in the land of Matoke, Uganda, attending the Legends game this weekend. He's going to be talking about it shortly. He's known for being anywhere in the world where the Kenyan rugby team is. And our lines are open. I'm surprised no one has called so far. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Feel free to call in, ask Konye any question. You want his merchandise, Nini. This is your opportunity. Nakuru guys, if you want to make fun of Konye, because you guys, there's a lot of, Nakuru guys have a lot of internal jokes, and some of those jokes, they're heartbreaking. Si wewe umechongolewa, but you're feeling it for the guy who's been chongolewad. So Nakuru guys, I'm challenging you to call in and say something to Konye. The number again is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Later on the show, we'll talk about development of women's rugby in Kenya. Women players have also been doing a very good job in the Challenger circuit. We are going to be talking about that. Now, actually, before we continue, Konye, you're currently in Uganda. There's a Legends game. Talk about it. What exactly is a Legends game, and who's organizing it, and who's playing in that game?
So the Legends game is actually a classic. It's always a two-way tournament. There's one game that's played in it's a 15s. For clarity, it's 15s. So there's one game that's played in Uganda, and in the early part of the summer, like our June now, like it's playing today. And the next game is played in October or September time period. So it's a home and away. So basically, the players are retired former players who played for either the Kenya Simbas or even the club rugby that are selected and they elect to continue playing rugby. There's an age limit. I think the age limit Kolo finally qualified this year. Collins Ijara is how old now? 40. So anyway, there's an age cap that you have to have that so that you can be able to qualify to play in the it's almost a baseline. And you can play as much as you want. The key part is it's usually self-funded, but it's branded by Nondis. Those guys were Nondis.
Okay.
So
you don't seem like you like
branded.
them. Yeah, you don't seem like you like them, but it's okay.
No. Nondis are there to be loved. Yeah, show power.
I think Konye ni mtu either top fry ama kabras ama oil.
You know top fry. Mimi si
Oh, and that is it, top fry. Nothing else.
Hata ile ingine oilers support.
We used to top fry. Now we don't have a sponsor. We don't have a sponsor now. We're sponsorless.
So top fry ni kama edible oils.
Wale pull out.
Like the other thing in Kenya, when you perform, you have sponsors. When
you go down, wanahama, they carry their banners and they go.
Oh. Yeah, they carry their banners and go, and they find a new shop.
Okay.
So anyway, so it's under notice again. Most retired players usually play for the team. They actually even have a side that goes to the sevens. There's a sevens invitational in Dubai every December during the HSBC series, and they have a team that they usually send out there. Again, it's a very well developed team. This year was the first team they have been having a big sponsor. SportsPesa is sponsoring some of them. You might have seen a few pictures online where we were doing a shirt handing ceremony yesterday with the SportsPesa branding on it. SportsPesa came on board as a token of support. Again, it's all for promotion of rugby. And any kind of support that can be provided to rugby is always most welcome.
Now, that's interesting. You talk about support because Washeke here was asking, besides showing up at games, how else can Kenyans in the diaspora support the team? Very important question. Man, Washeke today, he's...
No, I love Washeke. Where's Washeke located?
Hey, Washeke, you go Texas.
San Antonio.
San Antonio. Valid question. By the
way, Washeke, you need to call in 202-683-4570. She's one of our very loyal listeners. So akiona questions zetu hazijakuwa on point, anachomeka yake hapo. And we really appreciate that, Washeke.
Yeah. So it's hard.
Konye, hiyo sauti yake ni nyororo.
Okay, no, stay focused.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway,
stay focused. Stay in
the game.
So the one thing is, so as diaspora fans, we already do a lot. But you have to remember, a lot of diaspora people, they have to take some time off to go watch these games. Obviously, whatever the games are, they have to take some time off. They have to use their own funds to go out there, and they have to pay their own. Everyone has to pay their own way to get to this tournament. So sometimes almost I feel bad asking people that, okay, we have this problem number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the boys, and we try and come up with a little bit of funds so that we can be able, after the boys finish the game, maybe we can show them a token of appreciation. So I feel bad borrowing from people that are already spending a lot of money to go to these places. But we usually try to see whenever the players are done playing, we usually try to have a little fund where we can collect a few monies, and we give to the players. Whatever money we carry, we split it among them, and we give it to them. In the future, I think there is a big picture that we can be able to fulfill. But unfortunately, as you may be well aware about, it's very hard to manage a lot of Kenyans abroad. Everybody goes through their own hardships, and everybody has their own opinion on how they want their funds to be spent. So we end up having a lot of lack of direction. And accountability is always there. Okay. But again, when you give me a player's money, I'm not going to take the player's money. I'm going to make sure that it goes to the right player at the right time. But again, there's people who have lost money in the past, and they have a lot of distrust just handing out their money. So until we're able to come to a point where we can have an organization that everybody can be able to say, okay, this is the organization of diaspora Kenyans that are supporting players, and we're going to be chipping in this much, and this is kind of what we want to see. We want to decide that, okay, maybe one day we want to build a gym for the guys, and we're going to make it as they're diaspora guys. Diaspora guys run this gym, and we keep it running. And we can say it's open to the public, and the funds that are made from there can also be circulated in the system. That is just something that we have thought about. But again, finding like-minded people becomes really hard.
Interesting enough. But now that this question was brought up by Washeke, I think it would not be a bad idea, even if it's a few people. Exactly. You'd rather have a group of only 10 people who trust each other and are dedicated than having 1,000 people who are gonna start asking 1,000 useless questions. So I think maybe that's something that you'll keep us posted, because now that this information is coming out, a lot of people who are fans of rugby don't know this information, and they feel like maybe they want to dig into their pockets and try to show some support that's outside, like the system, that can make things easier for our rugby players. So Asheke, thank you so much for your question. And then on board from Reading, UK is Boniface Kanyiri, and he says, great show guys. Konye, any idea why they always delay releasing latest jerseys, unlike in football? Kids za new season who are readily available na mapema. Kwa nini za rugby haziko ready? Konye.
Oh man, that's a big point of contention. I talked to a lot of those people in the union, the directors, but unfortunately there has never been a unanimous agreement that when a jersey comes, it should be made available for the fans. For the fans, even if it's a replica. Because I tell them, every place I go, everybody sees my jersey, they're willing to pay top dollar for it. And I think that market needs to be tapped into. But unfortunately, you have to go back to realization that KRU itself does not have funds. They depend on funds, talents, and sponsors. So to buy merchandise, you have to have some source of income, and you dictate, say, okay, this is my 10,000 shillings, 10,000 USD that I'm going to spend on buying merchandise so that I can make 90,000 or 100,000. That is math, Bodmas formula works in my brain.
Very easy.
But it doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
I've tried. It doesn't work. There's no agreement. There is no agreement amongst them.
This is the thing. I think it's usually a point of I have 2 million, and this 2 million, I need to run the league. I need to fund the 15th team. I need to fund Chipu. I need to fund the 7th team. I need to fund the women's team. So I think nobody wants to take that risk of saying, let me take a few thousands from this money.
Long-term thinking.
Yeah.
10,000 today, then in 2 years,
because the job
it will be 90,000.
it can easily be turned to likula pesa. It can easily be turned to that, because again, there's that. If there was that clear accountability of how this thing is there, because as Konye said, Jazz is spending is going to be out of your pocket.
Yeah.
And then you make money from selling those nene.
Shelf, yeah.
So there's no guarantee of how fast that money is going to come back. It depends on how they sell. And then, so usually most teams that you find merchandise everywhere easily, they have a sponsorship deal with the manufacturer of the jersey.
Exactly.
So the thing is, we need to figure out a way. And I think Kenya has enough stock to talk to any manufacturer and tell them, let's get on a deal and we split on a certain percentage.
Exactly.
I don't think there's somebody who's ever sat down and thought as a business person on how to go and approach a manufacturer on how to do that.
Wow, I mean this right here is very interesting conversation.
But then again, sports sponsorship is a very hard thing to negotiate. People usually think it's a very easy thing to negotiate. It's a very hard thing to negotiate, because remember what the sponsors value isn't seen. Like there's no tangible value they can touch.
Yeah,
that they see.
Yeah,
right. So most of the value is usually on the exposure of how far your brand is taking them.
Okay.
And Kenya has enough stock to do that, especially with our stadium attendance and everywhere we go, how you see where we are.
And people spend.
Brand Kenya, is it Magical Kenya?
So and then again, this is where again you have to go, and this is where then the conversation between the government and the unions have to take place, because even if we can find, this is something that the government can do as part of their sponsorship is, produce kits to sell. Like there's so many ways in which you don't have to fund directly. You want to fund 10 million. Instead of 10 million, spend 100,000 in making jerseys, which the sale is gonna turn into that 10 million that you want to fund.
Yeah, because the science of getting jerseys, man, it is so complicated.
It's so hard. It's
man.
so hard.
You have to know someone who knows a cousin of someone who's dating someone who knows another person.
And that is if jerseys are there.
Yeah,
jerseys are usually not there.
Yeah.
Sometimes even the players, you see some players even they're playing with a kit that has a name that photo engineer.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, this is so embarrassing, especially for the players. At least as fans, like tunaweza kujipanga. But then I mean, those jerseys are they are so highly on demand. Like if we could just organize a way in which we could buy them, because even when you're in Nairobi, imagine when you're in Nairobi, it is still complicated to get a jersey. It is so complicated to get one. Then you'll find a broker who's gonna promise you he'll talk to another broker, and then at the end of the day you'll give out money and still you will not have a jersey.
No, most of the time matters yet you don't have a jersey. Most of the time the jersey that you'll get is utauziwa fake. Anaenda akashona na akakuja akaprint akaeleza hivi. That's the thing.
So kwa hivyo kuna shati watu wamevaa ni fake.
Most people wear fake shirts. Most of the shirts you see people hapa siku wakati tumevaa hapa nje azikwangi jazi zile zenye zimetengenezwa na KRU.
Yangu lakini ni origin.
Unaona, so the thing is I can decide, I can look at the design nione vile iko, nikibie China haraka ni make na nikuje niziuze na make do. Na mtajua nikuje I come to LA and I'm selling them. I say I have Kenyan jerseys here. Nimezitoa Kenya na nikuje niziuze.
Because remember we've discussed this. Where in Kenya are you gonna go and even just for example just get an authentic, you can go to UK and you go there, you can go to a store. You can go to Manchester United.
Yeah.
You can go to Arsenal,
yes.
Chelsea,
yes.
and get
official merchandise.
Here, you can go to the Baltimore Ravens stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or there's actually one company that actually just does that online. You just go get a jersey.
Official merchandise.
Yeah. The thing is,
but
those teams are in sponsorship with the manufacturer.
That's another thing. So even if you want, like you said, I'll tell you a story, and maybe he might kill me for this. So Misha Okutoi, one of the legends, he's always complaining how if he wants a jersey, he has to call somebody who can call somebody
who knows somebody
who is going to get him a jersey.
Yeah.
And it's like, if there's only a way, like, now for example, and we're having this discussion with Akina, even Hillary, who I was hoping to surprise you with, but I'll end Atlanta.
Yeah, I'll end Atlanta, unfortunately. Yeah.
Simple. You go to Nondis, you go to the study, you go to the facility. I've never been there, but I'm just giving an example. So I was using him because he has played there. You go there, they have a merchandise shop. You go over there. Over there, inside there, you probably have jerseys of the guys who have played for Nondis, who have legends, whatever. Because guess what? Baltimore Ravens fans will always and can always get a Ray Lewis jersey, John Unitas.
Yeah,
Ray Lewis,
yeah.
Terrell Suggs. If you want Ray Rice,
Nani.
Masharubu, Ed Reed.
Yeah.
You can always get, and it will never go out of fashion. So you go to Nondis or even Queens or whatever. They have a memorabilia shop. You can get a scarf, branded mugs, keychains.
Yeah.
Those are opportunities that are there, but again, like I think Mika said, like
there's a fear.
There's a
fear, and I think there's also mistrust. Because kuna hiyo issue ya
kuna mtu anakula nataka sijui nini.
Yeah.
But that goes to show.
No, it's the politics. The politics that actually just also affects this thing. The politics will always, as long as there's politics. And you know the thing about these clubs, right? You cannot go, watu wa Nondis wanaweza toka Nondis wakuja kupiga siasa KRU. But when you go to Nondis or you go to KCB nini, there is never internal siasa like that yuko ndani. Like if you try, it's gonna be shut down real quick. It's gonna be like there are those generals, there are those people, they're the people who fund those clubs, those fans, those main fans. Like they know how to run a tight ship, and they will hold it out. They will hold it down, right? All these clubs, you'll see all these clubs, kinanini, they run a smooth ship. But then you realize, why is it that you guys lose your heads when you get into the union? Why does it become naina kwanisi? So the thing is, if the politics up at that union level can come out, that sponsorship is going to be something that can be easily done. And it's not only just in rugby, even in soccer, basketball, athletics, right? Like you can see, we have a very beautiful jersey. Nobody in the country has it.
No one has it.
No fan has it.
Jerseys, shoes, so many things.
Like, yeah, it looks like you're like, hey, manze nikapata hii jersey ya Harambee sai, nazaka fit. Upate jersey ya Bake.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
So the thing is, the politics in the federation is what ruins that part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. There are some self-centered people in the federations that mess up everything. And once you're able to pull those out, eventually I think it's going to work.
Okay.
But again, it's going to take open-minded people to go do the hard questions, because unfortunately, people in some of these federations have been there for ages.
Okay.
Stuck in their ways.
Konye, we have a caller now. Real quick before we call the caller, couple of comments on YouTube. Susan Warui anasema Wanyore, watu wa Nakuru wako deep leo. And then Boniface Kanyiri anasema the union would surely raise a lot of money from jersey sales.
100.
And then
it's a no-brainer.
Boniface father says you not only get Kenyans asking for Kenyan jerseys, even other nationalities do. And in this day and age, you would think that should be prioritized. So that's a very good comment coming from Boniface. And then Washeke on Facebook says, Mika Och comments in line with what I was saying about running the teams as corporations. You leverage all ways of bringing in revenue. We run our Kenyan teams like hobbies.
No, but that is not the teams. That is the federation.
That's the federation.
There's a way national teams you cannot run them the way you run a club.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we also have a caller. I can see Tefia Chapa is tuned in, and Angie Decadence. Please type in some comments. Tell us what you want to ask Konye Wa Njoroge. There's a caller. Uno Mike.
Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. 0073.
You are the last party in the conference.
Okay.
Huyo
Amepotea. Ameogopa.
ameogopa.
Ameingiza tumbo joto.
ame Malaysia.
Ame Malaysia.
Ameingiza tumbo joto.
Ama alivinya
atarudi tu.
alivinya aliex kama yuko nini.
0073.
Yeah, the number to call.
Rudy.
The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. We'd be happy to hear what you have to say to Konye. Now, as we go back to rugby. Now, during the series, when most people are extremely exhausted, Konye, you seem to have a limitless supply of energy. Some people are asking if there's any special drink or fluid or substance that you're taking. And some of us already know that you are very avid about staying fit and have a dedicated fitness routine. Tell us why Konye is so passionate about staying fit and staying ripped. Konye.
So again, this goes back a few years back. I can say, like, when I played rugby in my 20s, I was the most unfit in my life. Because I thought I'm playing rugby, going to the gym maybe 1 or 2 hours a day, and then I just catch pints for the rest of the week. And I thought I was okay. So in addition to that, I realized again I was living a very unhealthy lifestyle, and then I was like, no, I'm low energy, So maybe when I started medical school, that's when I started actually like being an avid training person. I started going to the gym at least 5 days a week. When I was in medical school, and then when I went into residency, that's when I was like, man, this is the only place that I can find peace. So I actually started working out 7 days a week.
Wow.
So I pushed that over, and unfortunately those dreams were killed when COVID came, when all the gyms were closed. Once all the gyms were closed, that's where Camp Konye was born, because I converted my garage into a gym. I bought some gym equipment, and I converted my garage into a gym, and that's why I started training. So I don't have an excuse not to train. And when I'm traveling, guess what I'll do? I'll find a gym. Usually my priority is when I'm staying, I'll be close to a gym or has a gym within like 2 minutes of walking. Or if I don't have a gym completely, I'll have to do like calisthenics in my hotel room. So I can be able to just go. Exercise is actually really good for you. Again, it promotes your mobility, it helps your longevity, and again, you feel younger, you have more energy. So even when I catch points the night before, we can catch points with guys until late some ungodly hours. But then the game is at 10 o'clock. I'll wake up, I'll do my squats, I'll do my push-ups, and then I'll go. The same way I was pushing myself, catching those points, but the same way I'll go push myself at the gym. So you have to give, and then you have to take. That's one of those things. And you have to be disciplined enough.
True.
It all comes with a lot of discipline. You have to be the one disciplined enough to remember you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself those difficult questions, whether you gave yourself your best share of your day.
Very interesting.
I like a few things that you said, right? Number one is he started when he was playing rugby in his 20s, right? Like for me, anybody who saw me before I came to the States, like this was my size. This was me in my 20s when I used to play rugby and everything. I got an injury, had to do an MCL surgery. I was on my back. I started gaining weight. I went back to rugby. I got comfortable with that weight. So I moved from playing in the line. I went to park. I went to 8th man, right? And then I was comfortable running with that weight, Nini. So and I was okay with it. Then when I got into my 30s, nikajita mubaba, right? And Konye says
Sponsor.
Yeah. You were very unhealthy. Yeah. You go to the gym 3 times a week, but weekend, kwanzia Friday mpaka Sunday, the amount of pints you are catching, ile kudimbo na dimbua, it writes off everything you've done there.
You've done the whole week.
Yeah, you've done the whole week. So now you get back, and then you get to a point now you say, you know what, I need to, like, you get old, your body starts feeling like
Slows down.
Yeah, it slows down. You get a few. You find yourself going to hospital for things like you never even imagined you get. Then you like the doctor is telling you you're okay. You're just not fit.
Yeah.
So when
you sit down and you can't stand up.
yeah,
Shujaa pint, the Shujaa pint for me, you start eating stuff that you don't need to eat.
yes, then now
So that's the most important.
Chakula ya bar.
yeah. So now the thing is,
Those
you-
mamanchis.
now the thing is, I told myself what, wacha niwe consistent. Vile Konye amesema, kuwa like give it consistency, right? Don't just give it consistency.
Lakini kwenye hiyo
Then
consistency,
when you start seeing that,
the results.
when you start seeing the results, and then when you now the results zenyewe hata si zile za kuona, the most important results that you actually enjoy is the ones you feel.
the ones you feel, yes.
How
that's
your
very
body feels. You get to a point where when you said you don't miss a Monday, right? Me, I will tell you, no matter where I am, even the vacations have gone. It doesn't matter the kind of bender I had the previous night. Man, on a Monday nakwanga ni shoulders, na backs, na try, and lazima nitaingia. See, I at nowhere. Number one thing I usually look for place. Is there a Gold's Gym? No. Is there an anytime? I have memberships in 3 gyms. Gold's Gym, Anytime Fitness, and my regular gym that I go to, RVA Ion.
Ile ya 999 ya purple one.
Hiyo haina chuma inavi, hiyo tulipita.
Planet Hollywood.
Planet Fitness.
Planet Fitness, yeah.
Hiyo ni last resort.
Kena jaa kubwa ya maji wanaweza kufukuza.
Yeah,
Intimidating people.
Hiyo ni last resort. Like it's the last resort kama kuna gym. Like basically when you travel, those are the things. Is there hotel iko na gym? Like if it's not there,
Yeah.
and as I said, you have a calisthenic program that you follow. So basically, the only excuse of you not working out is you not wanting to work out.
Okay. Hii mambo ya fitness Konye, we are gonna get you on another episode. We go over it because it's very important in the community. But you are 7 days a week, Mr. Toboa. Me in Tanzania 1 day a week, and then graduate mpaka nifike 3 days a week. We have a caller.
Thank you for calling the One Mic Show 0073. Tafadhali, and introduce yourself. Tell us
Your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, this is Washeke calling from San Antonio, Texas.
Washeke from San Antonio, Texas. Karibu sana.
Mbono ulihepa mara ya kwanza, ulifeel shy?
You feel shy? Yeah, you were here mara ya first and then ukahepa.
Let your ears enjoy.
Sauti yangu ilipotea. I have a cold, so sauti ilipotea kidogo.
Don't worry. Konye is a doctor.
He will doctorize your cold.
Washeke.
So you are making me. I have a question.
Sure.
So, I mean, from what Konye has said and from what we have seen, the rugby team thrives on the support it gets from the fans, and especially when they go to play at away matches abroad. It's us diaspora fans who are able and can afford to go and cheer them. Most Kenyans are not able to, go to Vegas or, traverse the world to go cheer them. So my question is, what are we doing as most of us are parents, we're getting in age, we're not going to be able to be traversing the world in the next 20 years. What are we doing to develop the next generation of fans to ensure that, we continue supporting our team? Because without us, without the support, they're facing so much challenges, funding issues, politics issues when it comes to our own government. So what are we doing to, or what can we do to have, like our kids be excited to go and watch a rugby game and cheer for the Kenyan team wherever it may be?
All right, that's another tough question from Washeke. Konye.
So, Washeke, hey, Sauti Nyororo, Ziwa Stowe. Thank you very much for a good question. So, you are very correct. Again, there is always a divide. Even with the younger generation, if I find some young kids who are in the late 19, like the early 20s, that never played rugby before, I have to explain them the rules and stuff like that. But I think what is important is introduction early. Like, for example, what I did, like when I go on my safaris, I take the kids to Kenya sometimes, and then when the Kenya game is Kenya game going on, I take them. and the kids get to see what happens in the game. Like my son now, my son is 18, born and raised in the US, and he's never played any rugby, but he knows a lot about rugby, and he always asking when the next tournament is. So bringing the kids out to the tournament, and the kids can see you enjoying it, or even watching it on TV, and they can see your passion about it. That goes a long ways unspokenly, and eventually they'll start asking you those questions. And like, okay, how come we cannot go to this tournament? Are you available to go? The tournament is coming closer to our city. Can we go to this tournament? That helps a lot, and the kids get to identify with the players and and the flag.
You know, let me add on to that. I think also, there needs to be a program. And funny enough, we were talking off air with Akina Hila and Akina Wesonga and Akina Misha, and I equate it to how the Pee Wee football over here. Kids start playing Pee Wee football. Well, used to start playing at 6, 7.
Yeah.
So there has to be a way that rugby itself, even if it just touch rugby or flag rugby, whatever you want to call it, is introduced at an early age, or it's sort of made like part of a sports curricula in all schools, because we are a rugby nation. I mean, whether you like it or not, that's we're not.
So you're talking about Kenya.
I'm talking about Kenya.
Okay.
Kenya.
Yeah.
Like, like soccer is tunachezanga everywhere.
No,
It
but
doesn't matter.
In Kenya with its development, like hiyo kuipeleka kwa mashule ama nini, that is something that is actually happening. Like it is there. Like from my young age, like rugby has penetrated in schools and places.
That's what I'm saying, because
so it's there. But then I get what Washeka's question is saying. The thing is this: developing the sport, getting a new crop of people or players coming in is totally different than developing a fan base for the sport, right?
Yes, two different things.
Sports are tribal, right? A sport's supposed to be a tribal thing. Like, this is supposed to be a tribe. You see the way in London, like Arsenal, there's a certain region, like it's tribal. Like, you see, that's the thing. So for you, and this goes out for us parents especially, the only thing that most kids know, and when you build a true fan for a kid from a team, is when you introduce them to that team you're supporting and introduce them to that fanhood of yours, they will learn from you. Kids copy what their parents do.
Absolutely.
And that is the easiest and the fastest way to grow fanhood, right? All these other generic ways of is it akuja, like, you can say, okay, twende Vegas, Arizona nenda Vegas nini kupati ama kufanya nini, right? But then if they see you, as Konye said, they watch you on TV, they build that interest, they see the excitement of how you're doing it, they see how you're growing with it, and they will want to get more to it. They will want to be, because if you just make it something that's memorable, Mimi watch ball na dadi, right? How did your daughter get to watch Arsenal?
Yeah, because
you watch Arsenal, right?
Right.
And how you're behaving there. Like, even me, I never knew that my daughter had an interest in soccer. Like, Gen Z, niko na Gen Z kwa nyumba mbona meboga. But guess what? I'm not realizing them time ya game ya Man U nampata ameweka game anajionea mwenyewe, like she's become a fan ya mwenyewe juu ile time ya ile bond, like mkiona vitu. So that is how for what we can do as people who, yes, we can travel, we can do nini, is introduce them early from an age, like make it something that it's a DNA of something they pull up from you.
That is one
and
aspect.
Then you take them out from you then when you travel, and then you take them, trust me, the moment you'll take them to their first tournament, I experience heavy, there is no way that kid will never want to continue experiencing that.
You know what? I'm in agreement with Mika, but I'm saying what I was also saying is, in addition to that, there's a way, because there's some parents who are sports averse. Simple.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah, that's it.
So you sort of have to find a way, maybe try to tafuta, like whatever, like, hey, what is that? But I think sometimes the best way is to have, let's say, for example, education. Like when they go to school, there's this thing. It's called rugby. It's called flag rugby, if you want to call it flag rugby, touch rugby, whatever it is. Because now that way also now you start generating a curiosity from some kids whose parents or even people that they hang around with, they don't know about it.
Yeah, but I think Washeke is talking about, parents who are raising kids in the diaspora, where we don't have a rugby culture.
But here's the thing, even those ones, saa zingine mambo yao ni nini? Ni double shift.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like there's a double shift, and like now, for example, when I was involved with my niece and my nephew, it's because now Baba Hanya, for example, the kids came and told him they want to do soccer, but there are parents whose kids wanted to be part of a soccer team, but the parents, for lack of a better word, I want to say they never made time.
Yeah, I mean,
But again,
has to be time.
that
But let's
happens.
go back
So
to
that's the
Washeke.
thing.
Let's
No.
go back to Washeke to make sure that we're also addressing a question. Washeke, hizo responses umesikia, has your question been answered, or are we moving back and forth without fully answering what you were asking? Washeke.
I think Mika did try to answer my question, but I think also it's a challenge for us because some of us, our parents, did not feel like sports were important enough, or so that's why they don't even have interest in sports. So, and as a parent, if you are sports averse, don't have any interest in sports, it's so hard to develop that in your child, because many of us, we were just told, like, why are you wasting time running or playing soccer when you could be studying? They want you to become a doctor, a lawyer,
Or an
so
accountant.
that is also,
Given that Konye is doing the same.
Yeah.
Konye was a doctor now and
Yeah.
And is running
Yeah,
around
but
watching
you can-
rugby.
but but you can be we can raise well-rounded kids. It doesn't have to be
100.
just they're good in academics. They can
Yes.
be good in academics. They can play, volleyball. I have a 9-year-old, and I've been wanting her to play basketball because she's very tall. But she told me no. She wants to play. She used to play soccer, and then she was in gymnastics for a while. Now she wants to play volleyball. She's very,
Peleka yeye.
she really wants. She's just like,
Peleka
Volleyball.
yeye.
So-
Peleka yeye. Washeke.
I think we have to. One mic.
Peleka
I'm gonna
yeye.
lose my train of thought.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go
Give
ahead.
her time. Washeke.
Volleyball.
So I think we have to, change our mindset from how we were raised. Like, we can raise a well-rounded and accomplished person academically, but someone also that can be accomplished in sports. And sports is just as important as academics, because I think that's one of the reasons a lot of us are not even interested in supporting any of our Kenyan teams. We don't see the value. And the reason athletics, like runners, long distance marathon runners, have been successful, because that's an individual sport, and they get the world, they see the value in it, and they get managers and foreign sponsorship, and they are able to. But teams are teams because we need
Hey, what is Alexa telling you?
Alexa ameamua kujibu story ya
Alexa,
sports.
Alexa is feeling lonely.
Alexis Tell is reminding me to take my vitamins. So back to what I was saying, we have to change our mindsets and to raise well-rounded kids that are involved in different things, because like when someone has an interest, it makes them a better human being and a better civilian.
Where Alexa is not taking no for an answer. Okay.
Wacha rudi.
Yeah.
Wacha
So
rudi.
nimerudi.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead, Sheke.
So where was I? So yeah, so that's what I was saying. And also, like what Mike was saying, sometimes many of us, we really concentrate so much on, the doubles making the money, and we're not, building other, capacities within our families. We have to start thinking differently.
Okay, asante sana Washeke. We have to start thinking differently. Yeah, and that's quite interesting. And Washeke brings us to, the other important part of our interview. Because even when we go back to rugby, the Challengers series introduced most of us to the women's game, because the Kenya Sevens women team was part of the tournament. And I'll be honest, this was the first time that I took a keen interest on the women's game, because they were playing alongside the men's team. And I saw some very good rugby. So Konye, talk to us about this specific women's team and maybe just the development of the women's game in Kenya.
You are the last.
Konye.
So, as you can recall, again, most people saw the women's sevens team first. So people watched the Tunisia game, the Olympic qualifier. Was being held in Tunisia. Unfortunately, they split up the men's and the women's for Olympic qualifier. The women's game was being done in Tunisia. Unfortunately, they lost due to some close calls in Tunisia to South Africa. So South Africa qualified, women's qualified for the Olympics, and we did not. We have to go to repechage. And then the next time that people saw the Kenya women's was in Dubai, where we were in the finals with China. The girls are very active. They are really good girls. They are they're really strong, and they put themselves out there to play. But as you may have realized, it's been out, and the women team does not have a sponsor. So, and nobody has been able to step up on the plate to sponsor the women's team. Unfortunately, the women's have gone several months. I think now it's coming to 9 months without getting salaries.
Wow. Okay, that is not good.
But they do get a little stipend, the so-called stipend, when they're training during the national games. They get a stipend, but unfortunately, they haven't got full salaries for so many months. So again, this goes without saying. It's hard to play on an empty stomach. You're not able to meet your obligations. You already stopped working. Some of the girls used to be trainers. I know these girls by names, and they know me, and we talk. Some of them stopped working so they can start training for the national team. So, and they're not getting remunerated for what they stopped working for. So again, it becomes a challenge. It's not an excuse, but you always have to think psychologically. That play is a psychological warfare in their background, how they're playing. Again, it's hard for you to perform at your best when you cannot meet your basic needs. And as you can remember in my speech, when I went to the dinner, I put it up to the ministry. Again, they want these girls to perform, but they're not willing to step up to help these girls meet their daily needs so they can be able to give their best. That's always a big question that you have to pose to these people so they can be able to realize. Again, sometimes as I say, math is simple. Body mass formula. You add one and then you subtract. You don't do more than you. You do more than you get more than you. So to keep it in simple terms is that if we're able to get support for the women's teams, I think we have a great potential. And especially with nowadays the push for the equality in sport. If you approach any sponsor with that simple statement right there, equality in sports, why do you want to sponsor the men's team and you don't want to sponsor the women's team? That's a big thing. But it's just going to get you in the door. But again, there's always some tussle of the people who are trying to negotiate contract. Again, I don't know what's goes on in the background, and I don't care to know. All I care to know is that the players are being taken care of. I look out for the players' welfare.
Wow, it's really sad when you say that these women players sometimes have gone up to 9 months.
Well, they haven't been paid for 9 months.
Or they haven't been paid for 9 months.
They've not been paid their salaries. Or they don't have a sponsor.
Oh my goodness, that is so painful, because I've been following the team, and they've been playing some very good rugby.
They do.
Yeah,
They're coming up. They're on the come up.
It's interesting. They're not only on the come up. They were one game away.
No, that team is good. It's not on the
they were
come
one
up.
game away from playing in the qualifying tournament. They were one game away. It was that one, last game that they lost to. I think they lost to Poland, And Poland is
Yep.
the one that
And
ended
Poland
up
went.
coming to the qualifying.
Poland went and we
tournament.
lost.
Yeah. So my thinking is, if we can just cross over that hump, because now funding, once they make it to the World Rugby 7 series, there will be funding that will be coming from World Rugby. I think
Exactly.
that's gonna take our women's game to the next level, because I really liked, it was my first time, like watching the women's team, and I really liked what I saw. But it's very sad, and that's the reason why we have you, Konye, here to tell us what we don't know. It's very sad that we're learning now that they've gone for 9 months without getting paid.
Yeah. It's been said in the news again. It's been out on social media. Trying to get the girls funding. Trying to bring it to limelight that the girls are going so many months. Yeah, but again, unfortunately, it's not necessarily falls into deaf ears. It is reported that there's no sponsor, there's no money. What are we gonna do? We gotta keep looking for a sponsor.
All right. Now, Marin Gikonyo here is commenting, saying, Washeka introduced my son Andrew to rugby at an early age, took him to Vegas and San Fran for the Sevens World Cup. Do you know Andrew knows more rugby players than I do?
And actually, to support what Marin does, Marin is one of those guys. I think he's sort of behind Konye when it comes to rugby and following the team and doing that.
Yes, with his
Pope, him and Wagura. By the way, that's a fraternity.
Blessing people all over the place.
It's a tribe.
Yeah.
These rugby guys, that is a tribe.
He was even busy blessing the cabinet secretary.
Imagine.
I hope those blessings go to him.
No,
and he'll get to sponsor the women's team.
Well, the blessings, the blessings, the form of a brown envelope.
Yeah.
But Andrew.
Yeah.
My nephew, the son. I think he's an All Blacks guy.
Okay.
Marin is a Wallabies guy.
Okay.
But kid really enjoys rugby. Like atampeleka Sevens, Vegas, like even when
tumekata stands na Andrew Sevens ngapi?
Kadha. I can imagine the kadha.
Yeah.
So like even when the All Blacks came with to play against the US, I think that was 2 years ago. He's being in, like Andrew is over there. He's in the mix with the boys. Like he's like with the rugby guys.
Okay.
And I'm like, start early. Just start
early. And then Washeka says, Marin, I should do this as well. And that's so. And then Washeka says that's so typical of the neglect of our athletes. Such a shame. I think this was in response to what Konye was saying. Dennis Wesonga. He's saying while facing backwards. I don't know whether that's another Nakuru joke. Ama this is something different. Deno, please, fafanua. We have a caller.
Allah? No.
Okay. We no longer have a caller. Number
it's YouTube.
two. Huh?
YouTube. It's because
okay. So we have some comments on YouTube here. BG says great interview. Thank you so much, BG, for tuning in. And then Boniface Kanyiri says, Konye, tell us about the celebration dance when Shujaa Sevens score a try. What's that one for Oro? That dance right there, I think you should patent it.
I think there's also there's some comments that you missed over here.
Tutakupata kwa klabu kidansi hivyo.
Mi nikijua ndenda ni practice.
There's some comments over here.
There's some comments that I missed. Okay.
Like Drew Kimani was asking, what's Konye's diet regiment? Eshirandura Chief Louis says over here that Konye has been my accountability partner for over 2 years. For over 2 years. Every single day, he checks out my workout posts and has been my number one cheerleader. The discipline imposed by Konye pushes you to strive like he does. And I think that's it. Yes. Okay.
All right. Good. Now, Konye, let's go to a little bit about the domestic rugby calendar right here in the U.S. Because there's a lot of, yes, of course, our Sevens team is doing great in different parts of the world. There's a domestic calendar we have. The Kenyan Exiles you've been a part of will be taking part in the annual Cape Fear Sevens tournament in Wilmington, North Carolina on the weekend of June the 22nd and the 23rd. And I think some people are coming in on Friday. the 21st.
Yeah.
For those not
We're actually
familiar,
going in on Thursday.
oh my goodness.
And he needs to answer that question about diet regimen.
Yes,
in
we're gonna
addition
talk
to
about. We're
this.
gonna go back
Yes.
to that diet
Okay,
question.
so,
But back to Cape Fear. For those not familiar with Kenya Exiles and Cape Fear Sevens, Konye, please briefly talk about that.
So Kenya Exile is a club, as a rugby club, primarily of Kenyans and friends of Kenyans that has been in the field for many years. Actively in the US since the late 90s, I think. I believe. I think if I got up to Misha and Ger are the ones who introduced it. Actually, hey, guess who I was talking to? I was talking to a former player, and they were telling about how the Exile started back in Nairobi, and then how it got exported. So we have a Kenya Exiles team that we play sevens tournament. We've tried to play multiple sevens tournaments. Previously, we had like 3-4 tournaments that we used to get engaged in. But this year we have a big tournament coming up in June 22nd, 23rd weekend. Sherehe starts on Thursday and it ends on Monday. It's a big tournament. We're trying to raise awareness and trying to find a way that we can bring Kenyans together, especially in a year that we did not have a big rugby tournament this year. That brought a lot of Kenyans together. So we're all trying to go to Wilmington, South Carolina, the weekend.
North
And
Carolina.
enjoy rugby.
North
There's a
Carolina.
good fun rugby and have them enjoy and some doing that.
By the way, let me give a big shout out to Benny Thiongo. Benny is the one who's in ATL right now. He's
Another Nakuru guy.
another Nakuru guy. By the way,
Man.
it's what ni watu wa Nakuru mazee
Man, watu wa Nakuru.
wana organize hivi vitu Marine, Konye
Benny?
na Benny. So Benny is
okay.
the guy who's really like he's sort of taken over the stewardship of Kenyan Exiles and
Okay.
managing and then arranging. And I would be remiss if I don't say Benny Thiongo.
Okay, so Cape Fear Sevens,
Yes.
is it, like for those maybe who've never attended it before?
Yes.
What exactly is it? Is it just Kenyans meeting and playing against each other?
No.
Is it a full tournament for the sake of those
The
who?
full tournament.
Yeah.
Please, Konye, by all
Konye.
means. What?
So basically, it's a tournament. It's a tournament, and actually, it's a qualifier tournament for the Southeast, I believe. A lot of teams from Florida. There is a few teams from Atlanta, Memphis, Charlotte. Mostly in the Southeast side. They come for it's a qualifying tournament for as a region to qualify for the bigger tournament that is played later on in the year for the sevens. Again, you may realize that sevens is played only in the summer and mostly in the US. Most clubs usually do 15s all year round, but then in the summertime they take a break. That's when sevens are played. So we have a Kenyan team. We have an A side and a B side. The B side is made out of all retired, like we can say the legends. Are the ones who play.
Akina Marine,
The legends, Kina Marina,
Henda, Wesonga. This Dennis
Yeah.
Wesonga over here.
Yeah, Benny is on. All the other guys who
Even
have
Bombay.
who played rugby before and they want to play. But then we have the A class guys who are like actively playing full rugby that play for our A side that is in the competitive side. So there's a social side and then there's the competitive side. We're trying to raise awareness, and also in these dundas we're trying to see if we can entice people. Because again, Kenyans are known for their party scenes. If you're able to entice people in a party scene, people who don't know rugby, they can come for dunda and participate in the field. And again, this creates another big movement that goes down the road to again support the team and support ourselves.
Ali, guess who are the DJs? Cape Fear.
I know.
There you go. We got a couple
No.
couple
Who are
DJs.
I know. Who are the DJs?
Let me make a wild guess.
Yes.
DJ Shinsky and DJ Sunny Sistuki. Wild guess, random guess.
There you go.
How brother?
Okay.
How brother?
So Sunny Sistuki and DJ Shinsky are gonna be there entertaining people through the weekend.
Like
During the
announcements.
weekend.
Now,
Exactly.
Na DJ
Like
Mosh.
announcers.
And
DJ
DJ
Mosh
Mosh is still missing in
No,
action.
huyo
That guy has cooler fare
bro.
since he went to Atlanta.
Huyo akwende.
He
Ako
disappeared.
fishing.
Anybody who's seen DJ Mosh fire, please report with immediate effect.
No,
if you see him with any money,
Don't report, run away.
yeah, if you see him with any money, please take it and keep it until we can come and take it back for safe custody.
Yes.
Alikula fair, show ameenda, and since he went to see the president in Atlanta, he has never returned.
He's been very shaky.
Yeah, even his family members have been asking us, where is this
Bana,
guy?
like, hey.
You know, like, you guys do a show with him every Friday. Us
Maze?
guys were like, we sent him there, but he disappeared, and we don't know where he is.
Vindu vichenjanga.
Yeah. So yeah. But history ya sherehe.
Yes.
Let me ask you something, Konye, because there was a conversation that was happening in the group. There's a group for promoters, and I mean, I don't know whether Konye you're in that group.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
I don't think he is.
I'm not gonna mention the name of the group.
I'm not a promoter.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mention the name. I'm not gonna mention the name of the group. But then there was this conversation and this argument. What do people follow? Do people follow, you know, like the entertainment, or do people follow the rugby first? And I'll tell you why that came up. I felt like, for example, like this year, there was no, because that was a theory that was there, that a lot of people go just because of the entertainment. But then this year, we got your doctor, you know, what are they called? Ni hypothesis, there's something, a control experiment, whereby there was no rugby. There was a control experiment whereby this 2024, there was no rugby.
And guess what?
So if people were following so if people
There was
are
no
following,
bash.
exactly.
The promoters were sleeping.
No. There were bashes. They just failed. Hakukuwa na customers.
So maybe Konye just just address that issue, you know, like with the rugby, because we've also been trying to get you know, like people who are coming to promote at rugby events to make sure that it's rugby first. Because remember, there were years in Vegas when bashes were being thrown, you know, like day parties, pool parties were being thrown when the games were happening at some Boyd Stadium. So I think this is something that I want you to address.
And we got flack for calling them out.
Yes, we did get in trouble.
Yeah.
We did get in trouble for
To this
calling that out.
day, some of us have been blacklisted.
Yeah, we did get in trouble, but I want you to address it, being, you know, like someone who has dedicated so much of his time to rugby and promoting the game and promoting it to the fans. Konye.
So, even Mukwasi gets a lot of slack for this, and I love him for it, because he always calls bullshit when he sees it. He always tells people, when you come to rugby tournaments, remember it's rugby first, everything else second. And everybody gives him slack for it. But the truth is, as you say, the hypothesis has been proved correct. Like, especially like this year, we had this tournament in LA, but Kenya was not there. There was not only Kenyans who came to watch the US games. At a huge team gani ya kutoka wapi. There was nobody coming to knock on their doors telling them to host 3 bashes or 4 bashes.
No.
They might have had the bashes, but the Kenyan quorum that usually is there was not there. But when we try to express this to them and tell them that, again, most Kenyans are coming there in the name of rugby, but you get a lot of extra people. Without rugby, you don't get any of those extra people. And I think the consensus is clear now to them that they need to play ball appropriately and realize that our Kenyan rugby boys or girls, they're the ones who bring the party. They're the ones who gather the crowd. The crowd, without these people, there is no bash. And that is clear. It's clear.
You know
So simple.
the one thing that I usually say, and I will not lie, a lot of them don't like me, but I say it as it is. The level of importance that most of these promoters have put into themselves is actually pathetic. Because if you can't be doing these parties in your hometown, and then you assume that you're going to another city, and you are the one who's pulling people to that bash, to that amount of people, you're lying to yourself. You're not that good. You're just an option of entertainment that's there for people who went there for another thing. Yes, we will come to the parties, and we will celebrate. We will have fun there. But the number one reason why people usually go for these tournaments is for the rugby. Without the rugby, there would have been no Vegas, there would have been no LA, there would have been no nothing.
We have been on that, yes.
And
100%.
Yes, and then so if you really assume you're that good, go just on a random weekend. You don't even go on a holiday weekend and host a party in those cities and
Now-
see how many Kenyans come.
Now think about it. Vegas, since rugby left Vegas, like
Kenyans don't go to.
there's been talk about, oh, let's have a reunion there, but none has ever happened. And now it's how many years? It's almost 5 years
Yeah,
since rugby left Vegas.
it's not feasible because the thing is this:
Yeah.
these rugby fans have friends and families, and they go there with them. And then the people who go to this, if I'm going for rugby, I will try to bring a few people to come to rugby with me. I'll tell them, yo, si tuende rugby, tuende Vegas, tuangalie hivi, right? And then I know you like partying. I'll tell you kutakuwa na bash, lakini tuende
Yeah.
rugby,
study.
tuende study, experience study. And most people actually, when you, after that whole weekend, you ask them what is the excitement, they're like, hey, sikuwa najua study kwa fun hivi, right? And then the next time when they come back and they bring their friends, they will make sure, okay, sir, but then the thing is they will make sure like, ataka tunaenda kudunda, there's that rugby bit of it. So the rugby is what's bringing them in.
100%.
So if you sit down and you assume that you have failed for 11 months to hold a successful event, and then all of a sudden you are successful in to hold an event where there's a tournament, and assume that you're that good, you're not.
Now, remember, Mika, when we started that Twende Study campaign, because
Yeah.
there was a point in Vegas where we realized, because of the way Vegas is set up with the strip, Nanini, there's a lot of distractions. So there are people who are in confusion.
No,
You know-
it had gotten so toxic to a point whereby even the people who were making the parties and they knew that it was rugby that was bringing these people, they were not giving back to rugby, and they were stealing from rugby. It had gotten to a point whereby, and I remember when I say that, why don't we make it this way? Why don't we just rally together and push people to come to the stadium? Then you can fight for them at night to come to whichever party you're coming to.
100%.
Right?
Yes.
But then the thing is, let's not forget the reason why we go to Vegas, because it got
It's
into
rugby.
it had gotten to a point whereby guys are not satisfied of having the night parties. Guys want to have
Day
parties,
Day
day
parties.
parties, and all of them want to have day parties. And then, so the thing is like, then what's the purpose of actually people going to Vegas?
And you see,
And that is why we said what we said and got us into trouble. What do you say?
Well,
we said that clearly, if somebody has a day party, don't go. And we clearly say that, they hated us. Well,
yeah,
but guess
I
what?
mean, we got into some
we
serious
got in
trouble for
but-
that.
But guess
To this
what?
day.
Yes,
Yeah.
but then guess what? That is one of the time we had the highest number of people in the stadium, and since that day, that number continued growing and growing and growing. So the thing is, Mokwasi did events. You never saw Mokwasi do a day event.
No, never.
Never.
Yeah.
You never saw Mokwasi missing the stadium.
No,
Right?
no.
Never. He knew exactly what purpose was taking him to Vegas. Ilikuwa niyo rugby. So you can call yourself the best promoter in the world. We don't really care about that. But when there is a tournament, just respect that tournament as it is. It doesn't matter if it's rugby. Hata when you're in the Kansas Toyoyo, right? Toyoyo is it's about football.
Toyoyo, that's another one we
Yeah,
will cover.
July 4th, yeah, it's Toyoyo ni juu ya ball.
Ni ball.
Usiweke events zile kuna tone ya ball bana. Wacha watu wakacheze ball, wacha watu wakone ball, then jioni do your event.
But
And you do whatever you need to.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that needs to be mutual respect and understanding that, again, what we're bringing to the table, because without one, there is not another. And when we keep colliding, we beating each other on the head. That's what we do. We end up losing both of them.
yeah, we end up losing both of them. And I think, if you're a DJ, you're a promoter, at least take time to understand the game. There are those who already understand the game. We understand, maybe not everyone used to follow the game, back home, and maybe you've not been following the game. But at least if this is an event that you want to come and participate in, take some time to understand the game. The sevens game is very simple. It's not very difficult to understand. I've seen people go watch rugby for the first time, understand it and enjoy it. Take time, understand it, understand the dynamics of what's happening there. At least, also, involve in your promotion, involve some rugby. Involve some
Remember, I'm gonna take you right back, right quick, like one quick vest. Remember, like the very first Vegas, a lot of the promoters were coming with their placards and giving them out of the stadium.
At the stadium,
Yeah. I remember
true.
that.
Yeah.
Siku za Diablos. Yeah, Siku za
Yeah,
Diablos.
Diablos.
Yeah.
Diablos.
Actually flyers ilisha kukuja kwa nini kwa study after they felt like they've grown so big, but then the thing
They've
is
grown so big.
yeah,
they
didn't have funds. They didn't have customers. They used to come with those flyers because I remember people would come and talk to me like nigga we maze jona jo wewe ukipeana
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then it got to a point here at the show. They told us we're never even coming to sell our events at our show, and we told them we don't even want you to come. We are going to promote the rugby. Yes. Promote any event because the thing is gotten to a point where you forget where it all started. You forget the reason why people are actually going to Vegas. Because I will tell you the truth. I can go to that event in my city or in a city close to me. If I'm paying money to fly, a good hotel room in a good hotel room, I'm going to watch the rugby, and after the rugby I'm going to do some R&R for myself and then come back home. Event na dunda ni kitu ya kawaida. And guess what, Ali, you remember when Ali used to make fun and make some, the one thing I discovered Mika does is do what? Mika sleeps, wakes up at 3 a.m.
Yeah, Mika wanalala. Yeah. Mika alikuwa ni mjanja. Mika alikuwa analala.
Mimi nilikuwa nalala like naenda kujichokesha. Mimi nilikuwa na save nguvu yangu ya kwenda study. Naamka 3 am naenda PH nakutana na watu, natoka PH nikienda study. Nikitoka study nakuja nalala tena.
That was actually a very good formula. And I think now these formulas, I think Konye is gonna also start teaching people of what to eat, how to pace yourself, so that you can take part in all those games. Shiro up on YouTube anasema, Konye, we appreciate the effort you put in following and chasing the Kenya rugby team through Kenya spirit. And now, as we're getting close to wrap it up, I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned into the One Mic Show, and I'm your host and producer, Ali Badawi. We are talking to Kenya's #1 rugby fan, Konye Wa Njoroge, or like we say in our Nairobi West accent, Konye. He's talking to us about the epic comeback of the Kenya rugby team back to the World Rugby 7 Series. He's currently in the land of Matoke, Uganda, attending the Legends game this weekend, which he had just talked about previously. He's known for being anywhere in the world where the Kenya rugby team is. Our lines are open. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Feel free to call in and ask Konye any question before we wrap up. And as we are about to wrap up, we'll be talking about Shujaa's upcoming calendar this summer and next season, because it is jam-packed. So I want you to stay tuned for that, because there's so many things that you need to know and to plan. And I can see so many other people are tuned in. I can see Walter Robinson, I can see St. Chris Zion, I can see Luis Muya, I can see Stephen JJ. Please drop a comment, let us know what you think about this conversation. Now, the traveling side of rugby, Konye, this is very important. Now we are coming to a close. Traveling side of rugby, already some questions had come before, because people see you globe trotting all over the world. You know that being a rugby fan is a very expensive sport in itself. Being a fan it's actually a sport in itself.
Akona Amex.
Yeah, we tend to see you in every corner of the globe where rugby is. So for wale mahasla, watu ya boda na mama mboga, looking to get into this, what's your advice regarding managing the costs for both travel and accommodation while out on the circuit? Konye.
Amex, American Express.
This will be very valuable. This is money-saving information you're about to give.
This is a cream of the crop. What I usually advise people, once the calendar comes out, the calendar, like for now, the HSBC series is likely going to come out maybe late July. Late July, but we already kind of know. In December, there's going to be 2 tournaments. The first weekend of December is going to be Dubai. The second weekend of December is going to be Cape Town. You already know those 2 weekends. Anza tu kuchangia tu sahi, choose one or take both. Buy the flight early. You can get the best prices when you buy them early. Okay? So when you choose and pick. Again, not everybody's going to be able to go to every tournament. But if you live in a city that a tournament is coming to you, once you know it's coming to your city, buy the ticket early. That's always the biggest item. Buy the tickets early, and then organize your living situation. Where you're gonna stay. Me, I personally choose to live within walking distance of the stadium because I don't know what Matawadani is gonna happen at night, and I don't want to miss the games in the morning. So I try to get my hotel as close as I can to the stadium, so that even if I wake up 10 minutes before the game, I can jump out of bed, put on some clothes, my regalia, my underwear, and I run to the gym, to the stadium.
The one with the Kenyan flag.
The one with the Kenyan flag, I can get the stadium very fast.
Yeah.
That's usually my number one trick. But again, as soon as you know the schedule and you know the tournament that you want to hit, start looking at the spots you want to stay at, and you see if you can get some time off. Schedule your time off around those times. Again, I'm lucky enough that I'm a doctor and I'm an intensivist and a doctor. We do shift works, and I'm only obligated to work 12 to 14 shifts a month, or I can work 30 days if I want. But why would I work 30 days? And they should have to be chapel and they're traveling to do that. I want to kill myself. And if I kill myself, they're gonna find somebody else to work. So I work my minimal shifts, and then I prolong my sharia the rest of the month. And I can schedule my schedule whichever way I want. My people have known me that I schedule my days around my traveling schedule, and they have accepted.
Okay.
So, and not everybody can be like me, but
your best.
people can plan around it.
Plan ahead.
Plan around it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's true. Because
On a hustler jet, somebody saying over
no,
here.
JM is a hustler. But what he's actually saying is true, because I'll tell you, like us guys, we have a Formula One group that we do a trip every year, right? So it's usually the same thing. Whenever the calendar comes out, we decide which one it
You
is,
decide.
and that's it. You
And
start,
that's it.
Yeah, you start planning for it.
You execute. You
Yeah.
buy your tickets.
Yep. And then another thing that most people don't even understand is, like, most of this travel is, like, as Konye said, whatever you're using to pay, be it points, be it money, be it whatever, if you plan ahead in advance,
Fine.
You'll save a lot of
you'll
money.
save a lot. You're going to do a lot of travel cheap. And then another thing I usually tell people is this: don't be scared to travel minimally. Like, usiwahi ogopa ku travel like cheaply.
So
As long as you're safe and convenient.
What do you mean by traveling cheaply? You mean like accommodation? In terms of what do you mean by traveling cheaply?
Panda spirit.
Okay.
Utafika.
Exactly.
Utafika.
Utafika.
Bora ufike.
Bora.
Destination
Yeah.
is the same.
Team bora ufike.
Utafika. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another
Usiogope.
trick.
Yeah, go on.
Konye.
Another trick, if you're like going to Europe, you don't necessarily need to go to the city the game is. Find the cheapest trip to Europe, and then within Europe you can get a cheaper ticket.
Now,
Ryanair. I'm a train. Like,
That is a
I'm a
super
train.
hack.
yeah.
That is a super hack right there, which I would never have thought about, because nilikuwa nimetaka kuja Madrid. I was looking at those ticket prices, and they were not ticketing.
You don't.
They were not ticketing, and I was looking at them. Unfortunately, a few weeks before the tournament.
You know me, Madrid was supposed to be my birthday trip.
And then what happened?
My grandmother died.
Yeah. Pole, son.
So I had to go home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that was supposed to be my birthday trip, right? And I had splurged, right? Lakini pia ile splurging nilikuwa nimesplurge kukuwa ile
splurge.
Yeah, kwa sababu I have other trips that are planned throughout the year. So Madrid was those ones, like, okay, last year you did a big birthday celebration, so this year is that much, but then it was like Kenya's play, right? Sijenda game ya Kenya imwaka, and then it's gonna be a tournament and then it's around my birthday, right? So it
2 for 1.
Yeah. So it but then if you look at it, it was thereby, as Konye said, I was not flying straight to Madrid. No, me I was gonna land somewhere in Europe, then get a train to so like you know how to unajua unachanganya hizo vitu unazifanya make sense.
Unachapa Mbukinya all the way.
Booking Express. Yeah.
So
Eldoret Express.
Yeah, you have, like,
makes sense.
It's so when you're planning for, especially if you have a few days that you can spare, and then those people who can work,
And that's a good experience.
those people who can
Work
telework,
remote,
who can telework also, you can do that. You can go, you can take a trip, right? then you use your days for your traveling time, and then you just work. Then when you need to watch the games is when you use your hours that you need. So you can you find yourself that even if you don't have a lot of hours, you can still work around it and be able. So there's so many ways in which you can plan.
You can manage.
You can manage and
challenges.
plan this thing. It doesn't mean that you have to break the bank or go way beyond your expenditure on trying to do these things. And then another thing is pooling of resources.
Yeah.
If you can just have a group of people who you are strong with and you can pool resources and actually try.
Not random people who met on WhatsApp.
No. See,
Yeah.
no.
You mtenda
You have to have some
kukosana.
solid people.
You
You have to have some
solid
solid people.
Yeah. So Paris is coming up. So I guess
Yeah.
that's a hack. People who want to go to the Paris Olympic Games to see the Kenya Sevens team, I think that's how
Paris
they can
tickets are
do
ridiculous.
because
right now.
Paris
So
tickets
you
are
go
going to
to,
be
you go to
ridiculous.
London
Uh-huh.
and you take the tube.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Or you fly to Holland and you take the train too.
So there's a
Yeah.
train also from Holland.
Yeah.
That you
fly
can
to
take the
Netherlands.
Yeah, Netherlands, 2 hours in Paris.
Man, unakutana
You
kina
go to
Dennis
Belgium.
Bergkamp.
You
go-
go to
you go
Belgium, and then you
to-
try get on a train.
You go to Munich
You go to Munich, get
and
on a
get another
train.
train.
Go to Frankfurt and get on a
Get
train.
a train.
How come you guys never told me this all these years?
Huyu kwanza hapa, huyu
Eh?
hapa, huyu
Mbona
Mika.
mbona hakuna mtu amewahi kuniambia hivi?
Nyie mpende kutravel, nyie mnapenda kukaa nyumbani.
Now I have to go to Europe. Now I'm motivated.
So now over here we have
Now I'm heavily motivated.
some comments over here. Dennis Wasonga is saying, why work more days to earn the same amount if you can earn it in a shorter amount of time?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, and then Marine says, Konye, thank you for your contribution towards Kenya Sevens last 2 years. You have made such a meaningful difference in the lives of those that have played, and you never show off.
That is very true.
Last year, Konye bought the whole team winter jackets in Vancouver Sevens because they could not practice due to Baridi. Your donation shows that you truly care about the sport we all love. Konye OGW. And
Order
then-
of the
the Grand Warrior.
uh-huh.
And Dennis Wasonga says this order of the Grand Warrior for Konye is long overdue. And that's why, by the way, we've been talking to Konye for a while.
Yes.
We just had not been figured how to get a hold of him
Uh-huh.
because he was traveling for rugby nanini until we're able. Now that rugby is over, we decided that this is the best time this first week. And he spared. This is, what time is it in Uganda right now? Right now the
My
courts are closed.
friend, it's
5 hours away.
8
Wow.
a.m. So
Wow.
and he has
In
sharpened 3
Uganda.
hours.
Wow.
Well, 2.5.
Yes.
Some ungodly hours, but it's a pleasure. Again, I've been wanting to get on this. I think we've talked about this since we were in LA last
Yes.
LA before relegation.
The LA before COVID.
Before
Yeah.
LA, we've talked about being on the show, but again, unfortunately, you don't force things. Again, my life. Let me tell you a couple things in life. Never force issues. If it doesn't work, let it be.
Mm-hmm.
Let it go.
Because you're gonna cause yourself some more stress than you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, you give yourself your flowers when you still can smell them.
True.
A lot of people say they kill themselves, saying, "Oh, let me work." I just say, but then you say, "Work extra shift," and then all of a sudden you're sick. Guess what? You cannot travel. You cannot be helpful to your family. You cannot be able to end help to anybody. So give yourself the flowers when you can smell them. The other thing, somebody mentioned the diet. Diet. You cannot ask me what I eat. I eat seafood. I'm on a seafood diet. I see it, I eat it.
Seafood diet, I like that. I see it, I eat it.
The only thing I don't eat, I don't care much for pork. But
Good.
not for religious reason, but I just choose not to eat. I don't like it. I didn't, yeah. So, but the main thing is, most people ask, I want to get on a diet. The thing I tell people is, count your calories.
True.
Know how much calories you're eating in and how much you're putting out. Try and get a step counter, a watch step counter that's going to count your steps, how many steps you're doing, and then watch what you eat. That's exactly what you don't have to eat the whole plate. If you see my meal, I think I posted on YouTube, on Instagram yesterday, the food that I ate here in Uganda yesterday. Jesus Christ, I ate food could feed a whole small nation.
And Uganda has some good food.
But the food is
My
nutritious.
friend.
Yeah.
In Uganda,
The key thing, the one thing you have to realize, the food here is organic.
Yeah.
This food is not going to affect you. It's not the food that we have in the stateside.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's very true.
Processed. We don't have a lot of processed food. The other thing is avoid processed foods at all costs.
You know, Konye, we're gonna get you on a show for fitness on
No,
the
you know,
diet.
I've actually wanted to push for that show. I want us to push a show for fitness for, especially sisi wazee over 40. Kwa sababu, yeah, kwa sababu the thing is, let me tell you something. Once you realize how to get fit, you ask yourself, kumbe ilikuwa ngapi rahisi hivi ni mimi ndo siko najua. Let me tell you something. I used to, one thing that one person that actually showed me it can be done, and not even by speaking or doing anything, just looking at him, is Ed Ribui. Tulikuwa tunatoshana. All of a sudden Ed akakata, but then I used to see how much dedication he had on working out and on his diet. If there's one thing Ed will never mess up, is what he puts in his body.
Unajua hapa states there's too much processed food everywhere.
Yeah, and
so
then
I think people need to be taught how they can enjoy their food without eating processed foods.
And then the moment you realize how to tabia mbaya tulireziwa nayo ni kumaliza chakula kwa sahani. Right? We were raised with maliza chakula. Kwa hiyo ni mtoto. So it's been, that's how you know. No matter the portions is just. So the moment you know how to count your calories and how to wait to know what you're putting in.
Yeah.
Then the moment you get to learn how to cook and how to make sure, like, whatever you're eating, you man, there's nothing as expensive. Yo kitungunu organic ni expensive, like it's a benefit to you.
Yeah.
The food you prepare yourself is way better than hata kani chipo. Jipikie chipo uone difference.
By the way, I agree with you.
Kushinda enda kubai chipo uone difference vile utakuwa. Totally different.
I know Jim is calling Konye. Quick comments here before you give us your parting shot, Konye. Sambaza podcast says, Ali Badawi, this conversation to come onto the show was hatched on the previous or the last time we were in LA after the pandemic. That's right. I even remember us chatting about it and hoping that Konye was going to come to the One Mic show. I'm glad he came, and it has truly been amazing. That's Sambaza podcast. And then Washeke here says, job blessings upon you, Konye. On that fitness show, can we have someone discuss hormonal issues that affect women's weight loss? It's not linear for us.
And he's a doctor.
So
in one.
So we've already hatched another show.
That one.
Yeah, and we'll figure it out. But Konye, give us your parting shot, like your message to the fans, to the government, to other stakeholders, to the pretenders, to the contenders. Konye.
And don't hold back.
Don't hold back. All those things that you didn't have a chance to say, this is your chance to say all of them on the show. Konye.
Thank you. I really want to thank a lot of Kenyans who, again, spend a lot of their money, their extra change, traveling when they see us traveling, and they want to be part of the Kenyan crew traveling overseas to watch rugby. I really want to thank you guys, because you guys are the real deal. Again, I can go out there by myself and me and Evans and just celebrate ourselves. But when we have 3, 4, 5 Kenyans show up together, like we did in Uruguay, it was 7 of us that went to Uruguay, and the whole stands, by the time we were done, they all knew Kenyan songs. I thank all the Kenyan fans, like, for real. It is very, very memorable. Even the boys, when I talked to them about that a few days ago, they say, when you talk to the people, just tell them thank you, because they truly appreciate it. It makes a difference when they're in the field. Sometimes they cannot even hear their own calls because we're yelling so much, but they appreciate you guys. Another thing I can say, always put yourself first. Remember, you put yourself first. Without you, there's nobody else. So when you take good care of yourself, you will be able to go far. Then, big elephant in the room is, again, we should not continue supporting mediocrity. May it be in government, may it be in our leaders, may it be in any organization that we look up to. There is a lot of wastage that happens in governments. You cannot believe how many of, like, the ministry's staff travel just to travel so they can get a per diem. And they're out there in the field. They don't even know anything about rugby. Well, the ministry says they don't have any funds. and they travel with a big contingency of people that if you ask them what they're doing there, they'll give you some bullshit answers. I don't call out names, but I've talked to some, and it doesn't make any sense. Why you have to take a big contingency of people just to be there, instead of using those funds to develop a sport that can eventually raise the curtains of the flag a lot higher. That is one big call out to the government. We need to stop wasteful spending on useless stuff that's related to sport. And last but not least, my kids, I know they feel sometimes neglected. That daddy always goes to rugby. And I always take him. But my daughter told me the other day that she doesn't want to go to a rugby event because it turns into a sherehe. She doesn't want to go. But my son is always game. Love you all, and really, thank you.
All right, asante sana
Thank you so much, Konye. Go get some
Fika
rest,
Jim,
boss.
last thing, we need to get the rugby players on this platform just like we've got in Omanyala, so whenever, like they have a break, I know they're busy right now, like preparing for
50
Paris
days,
Olympics.
50 days. It's 50 days till Olympics, so
Yes.
it's locked down right now.
So I know it's a no. So whenever they get a break, like after that, maybe right after the Olympics, before they get to training for the season, both the men and the women, because I think the women, they're on the cusp of something big, and we need to start paying attention to them. And that Challenger Series for women, I think we need to come up with that small crew of people to travel to the Challenger Series.
The girls are going to go to the
girls.
Challenger Series. We don't know the dates, and we don't know the cities yet. Once you know the cities, again, there's always a WhatsApp group that pops up. When you see the message, if you feel interested, buy the ticket early. There's always going to be somebody there.
Hopefully there'll be a leg in the US for the Women's Challenger Series.
I'm hoping so. It's going to be hard sell because none of the US teams, both of them are not in the Challenger. So they usually try to go to one of the countries. Maybe they'll bring it to Uganda. Maybe they'll bring it to Kenya.
Kenya. Hey, that would be nice if they bring it to Kenya.
Don't forget Chipua.
If they would, again, this is my thing for even World Rugby. We have a lot of Kenyans that travel all around. Why can't they give Kenya a test? Let's give Kenya or Uganda a test, and let's bring a game there. Because, again, we are the fans. You guys can get one flight to Europe and come on vacation here, the same way we do.
Wow. They call him Konye Wa Njoroge, or like we call him in Nairobi West,
Konye Wa Njoroge.
Yeah. So Konye, Charlie Jaseme Ogwell on YouTube says, Konye G is one of a kind. Barikiwa sana, bro. So again, asante sana Konye. I know the gym is calling, and I appreciate you taking your time to be with us. Uno Mike, unaonaje?
Wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia nanga. We are about to wrap this puppy up.
Do we give Konye the final last word?
Final last word. Konye, your final last word.
Final last word.
Finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
Final last word.
Finally.
All the Kenyans listening to this from the US, let's all go to Cape Fear this year. Let's go. China.
Okay.
That's it.
Aya.
Thank you.
Asante sana.
Mika Och!
Mika.
Well, that was a good show. That was a very, very, very wonderful show. I want to thank Konye. Thank you for, staying up, waking up or staying up, whatever it is, man. But thank you for that. I know it's mad hard, man. When I'm home, I had me mwenye singiangi show. Yeah. But
you Malaysia like Omosh.
Malaysia like Omosh.
Like Omosh. The Omosh Malaysia.
Yo tumezoea. Bye.
Like Omosh. But all in all, that was a very nice conversation about rugby, and it opened up some of the background things that happened in the back of it. And then we've had Hila, who worked at the union, come and spoke about rugby from the union side of view, right? And then we have Konye coming speaking from the fan point of view. And then if you've listened to both shows and you can marry them, you can see that at the end of the day, all that rugby wants to do is win.
Yes.
And grow. So we hope that we as fans have learned something new here and will continue. And one thing that all this means is that LA is back.
LA is back.
LA is back. You've just missed LA rugby for 1 year. Vancouver is back. So there's reason
But without
for you
the
to
Canadian team.
but without the Canadian. But then no, we don't care about the Canadian team.
Yeah, we don't care about
As
that.
you
We don't know whether it's gonna be there. But
Yeah.
we don't know.
Yeah, but then all in all is we know that we are back and we are going to see our team. So this 1 year break was there. Mlipumzika next year tupata nile. So prepare for that. And as Konye said, if you can make it to Wilmington, North Carolina, please make your way over there. Gonna be a fun weekend. Come watch the rugby, enjoy, chill, meet people, like learn something new, and just build it up from there. It's summertime. Yeah, you guys say you always wanna go. Na uko Wilmington karibu na beach, si ndio uno?
Yeah, kabisa.
Beach.
Uko
Beach.
Yes.
So unaweza vaa zile ngotha za Kenya.
No, you can turn it into a
Yeah,
vacation.
it's a konye.
Hizo za Konye.
Yeah, you can
I know the people who wanna buy those ngothas.
you can turn it into a vacation. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Like if you feel like you need a break and you need to go somewhere, you have a reason now to travel.
And
like
Cape Fear is quite, it's right there.
Yeah.
And it will be an awesome experience. I was there last year. It was so timam.
Mm-hmm.
Because even there's some of those former players like Bombay, Ahenda, other guys played. Akina Benny Fiongo, they played, and it was fun. But I was like,
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like for your for as a fan, like you can do both. You can come watch the rugby. You can go chill at the beach. You can come do both, right? Like you can turn it into a vacation and you can turn it into a weekend of dunda. Whichever way you want to do it, you can come and do it. And so for me, I just want to tell people, it's summertime, we're outside, vile watu sema, remember, don't drink and drive, just be careful, and see you next Friday. And wapendwa wachangiaji wetu.
Yes, we can't forget them.
We cannot forget you. We want to
Yeah.
thank you again for good participation in this show, and we hope to see you on Friday. Have a nice weekend.
Okay, thank you so much, Mika. I want to thank again wapenzi wachangiaji. You guys are the ones who keep us going. Like I'm proud to say that we are the only show who can shift from, like very deep political conversation, siasa, serious stuff. We can talk about sports, and this is because of the different people we have in our team. We have a diversity of personalities here. Sometimes tuna clash, tunagongana vichwa, tunakosana, but we always come back together. Sometimes people disappear like Omosh Fire, Malaysia. We don't know where he is. At least we saw him pop his head here, so we know he's somewhere okay. I don't know whether he got a brown envelope from the president when he went to Atlanta, but someone tell us where he is wherever you see him. Dennis Wasonga, he says that good stuff, gents, you always know how to seize and present the moments that matter. Thank you so much, Deno, for that vote of thanks. We try to be as relevant as possible, and we also try to be as unique as possible. We try to give you stuff that is unique that you cannot find anywhere else. Where else can you go and find a media or a group of people sitting with Konye Njoroge for 3 hours?
Konye Wa Njoroge.
Konye. Yeah, I mean, like we're gonna
Nairobi West. My bad.
I mean, Nairobi West accent is not easy to do the way you're saying it, but it's okay. But yeah, we try to give you these unique conversations. We try to start the conversations. We try to make people understand what's happening inside the hood. Like what's not being seen by people. So we got a lot of gems. Even us who follow, like Kenya Rugby very diligently, like Konye was able to open up issues that we would never even have ever thought about.
Right.
And he gave us gems and travel hacks that are very important. Now we're going to save so much money. I'm challenging myself to go at least to 1 or 2 legs in Europe this coming season. So accountability muni remind. Now that I know I can go to Akaushago somewhere in Europe, and then I jump on a train. I jump on a train.
Yes.
And then
I'm a Ryanair.
Yeah, and then I find myself in a major city. That's very interesting. I never thought about that, but na hope sitapotea. Unajua mimi mjukuu, yani mimi ni mtu I like straightforward things. I hope sitafika huko mara nimepotea, mara you
like verifiability.
I like verifiability. Mara nimefika Ocha sijui Romania huko, nimeshikwa sijui na wasewa gani, but anyway, I hope I will be able to do this next year. Cape Fear coming up. June 21st, Friday June 21st, Saturday June 22nd, Sunday June 23rd. But now according to Konye ameongeza mpaka Thursday June
Karibu night.
June 20th.
Karibu night.
Yeah, Karibu night, and then all the way to Monday.
Sunday,
So it will be a good event. This was a year when Kenyans were taking a break, and I think that was a good break. My heart was really broken when the team was relegated, but now looking back, I think it's something that we needed. Sometimes hata Mwenyezi Mungu anakuangalia anasema, umekuwa ukienda mbio sana, wacha tukupunguze mbio kidogo, ndio ujue mambo yendi hivi, ukae ujipange, utafakari, ujue ni mambo gani ambayo kwamba inakuja hapo. And I think it was a good also transition, new chairman, new players, and we are glad to see where things have come around. You know, like now this is just the start. We've been doing well, but this is the start. This is we're now just getting started, and hopefully things are gonna get better. We should be looking forward to now starting to win different tournaments. I like the way these young boys were playing. They were playing, you know, like with like Mika mentioned, they had a mix of you know, like they have the strength, but they also have the skill of seeing spaces and not always relying on strength,
Brute strength.
yeah. So they were very unpredictable on the field, and that became one of our strongest points. Ile dance ya Jojoro, I cannot forget that moment. You know, like, I mean, it was so epic. Nilikuwa nimeingiwa na butterflies kwa tumbo. You know, like I was almost losing my mind.
Katumbo.
But then these guys, you know, I like when the Kenyan players, they showed some you know, like some confidence, some swagger, and some mannerlessness. You know, like where Ajali ataambia wale watu bye bye. Those two guys who are chasing him, those guys have been posterized
Adios.
forever. They've been posterized forever, and that was the most amazing part. Your dance, we need to learn it, and I think he should patent it. Na kwa hayo machache, yeyote ambaye anataka kusema nami, kumbuka nambari yangu bado ni ile ile 1-800 mteule. Operator akishika simu, mwambie unataka kusema na mjukuu, na akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, mkumbushe ni mjukuu yule yule wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui, na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Aiden, by the way, my son loves. He was very happy that Shujaa made it to
Nice.
Back to the HSBC
Yes,
IRB
nice.
series. Aiden, Daddy loves you. Jerry, Daddy loves you. Nimo, Daddy loves you. Until next week, be blessed. Thank you, Konye.
Shukran Konye. Jim.